Forged in the fires of traditional finance, he navigated a $7 billion with a B investment dollar investment portfolio, pioneering paths in crypto and AI powered trading algorithms. But it's not just about numbers and net worth. He's an intellectual alchemist, blending diverse investment strategies to unveil a unique vision unseen by those tethered to traditional thinking. His innovative mindset is the crucible from which AI Arena, Arc, and others were born, a game studio that thrives on creativity rather than convention. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the father, the financier, the futurist. It's Gwei.
What's up, Sam? Great to be back on the show. Looking forward to this conversation and hope you feel better, man.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. And up next, whether it's building sporting goods empires or assembling a tent and teabagging on your grave, this man has been pulling off 360s on the slopes and 360 no scopes in Web3, bouncing from Brussels to Brazil. He's snatching dubs from the jaws of defeat. Welcome to the panels, the sharpshooter of shrapnel, the undisputed king of controllers. The redemption arc continues with Dub.
Yes, sir. Live from Chinatown in Manchester, United Kingdom, boys. Let's freaking go. I freaking love my life. Love to be here. STX 3.2 was an absolute blast. It was really, really cool getting to hang out with Myth for an entire weekend and talk to him about Web3 gaming and all that kind of stuff and his impressions on it. Let's have a great freaking show, Sam. Great to be here.
Great to have you as always, buddy. And Dub actually won MVP on Simplified on Monday, so he's coming in hot. See if he can keep the streak going today. We'll find out at the end of today's episode. And ladies and gentlemen, gamers and gurus, brace yourselves for a whirlwind of Web3 wonder. She is the co-founder of 44 Labs, a creator-led marketing agency that's aiming to change the game in Web3 go-to-market strategies. As an advisor to Web3 games, she's proving she has both brains and beauty, but that's not all. She's an ambassador to Ronin Network and Telegram Gaming Maxi, breaking news and sharing her theses regularly. Get ready to be awestruck by the sorceress of screens, the titaness of Tawn, introducing the queen of content. It's Eliza.
Can you guys hear me? It cut off.
We can, yeah.
Awesome. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me again, Sam. That was a crazy intro. Yeah, I'm just always blown away by your intros. Haven't been here in a while, so yeah, I'm hyped. I'm hyped today. Thank you. Thank you for all the glazing. Like that's crazy.
It's great to have you back, Eliza. It's been too long. And as the former head of player operations at 11 Gaming, he engineered an era of excellence, leading his teams to an enviable 4 Fortnite championships. Now he enchants the e-commerce ecosystem at Magic Eden, effortlessly turning trades into treasures. Brace yourselves for the emperor of esports, the expert of exchanges, the epitome of elite entertainment. Welcome the extraordinary, the exceptional. It's Knock.
Yo, I'm able to unmute now. Elon can't hold me out for long. Excited to be here, man. Appreciate the new intro. Sam was super sly with that. He was asking me a bunch of questions about 11 earlier today, and weaved in a lot of those facts into that new intro. So appreciate you. Can confirm he does write them in real time.
Thanks, buddy. Up next, crafting killer content that captures hearts, conquers algorithms, and catapults follower counts, into the stratosphere. He's done it for not one, not two, but 5 social media accounts in the past few years. He's transformed a mere mortal company into an Arctic titan, a colossus in the cold, competitive tundra. Rewind to 2019 when this captain of clicks clinched the coveted crown of Search Engine Marketer of the Year by setting standards and showcasing the sheer power of SEO supremacy. He's the prince of page rankings, the master of memorable merchandise, the archangel of Avalanche. From Avalanche, it's Coop.
Thanks for having me, Sam, and everybody. Glad to be back. It's been a while as well. Thanks.
Good to have you, buddy. Far too long. And for 22 out of 23 years, he gamed on computers so terrible they made dial-up look dazzling, forcing him to master indie games when others got PTS from COD lobbies. In college, he snagged back-to-back silvers in Super Smash Bros. Tournaments, showing he's a contender in any arena. Now, when he's not lifting weight of the world as a strongman bodybuilder, he's crafting marketing magic for Stardust. Give it up for the incomparable Wills.
Yo, great to be back. Loving the new intros.
You can always tell whenever somebody's being honest because they go, "I won silver." You go, "Well, he wouldn't be making that one up. He might have made up gold."
Exactly.
Authenticity on the internet. It's fair. It's a rare thing. Up next, brace yourselves for a bountiful bonanza of brilliance brought to you by the Baron of Blockbuster Games. He's brilliantly blazed trails across the realms of mobile, console, and VR gaming, from building alliances in Age of Empires to cultivating RELATIONSHIPS in words with friends, from the boundless creativity of Creativerse to the battlefield of Halo Wars, and even bounding through VR with Lucky's Tale. He's a bona fide beacon of the gaming world. Now he's back to blow our minds with his boldest project yet, Wild Card. Please welcome the pioneer Pixels, the Baron of Bites, the brilliant, the bold, Paul Bettner.
Sam, I love you. That was incredible. I have so much energy today, y'all, because this week, first of all, I haven't been here in several weeks, and I'm really, really excited to be back. And if you'll bear with me for a second, I am getting a chance on a nearly hourly at this point basis to sit in demos of the things that are upcoming for Wildcard the game and Wildcard the crypto project that I am just, oh my gosh, I'm vibrating with excitement about the stuff that we are about to ship and that everybody's going to get their hands on. It's finally working. It's finally something that I get to play test with our team, and I'm super excited about that. And then the other thing is, Katie outed me for being late to this because she said I was being a nerd and watching Triumph the Wonder Dog. But the reason that I was watching that skit, okay, is because she sent me this link right before the meeting that it was like one of these copy and paste things. Says, hey, I'm using Coinbase Wallet to chat and send money. Install a wallet, message me at whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you are such a DJ nerd. You're like a super nerd, like a combination of lesser nerds. So our progress with Wild Kate, making her the ultimate queen of all nerds, is working out. I appreciate y'all's help with that.
Amazing. Getting the Bettner lore every single week is one of my absolute favorite things. Still wishing I could leak some of the things I know that you're referring to there, Wild Paul, but I'll let you do it whenever you get excited about something in the future. I'm sure it'll happen before we know it. Up next, he's a maestro of the metaphor and marvel of marketing, from penning persuasive prose to leading legions with uptick. He's the bard who turns the mundane into the magical. He makes us laugh while never backing down from a controversial take. He's the mastermind with the Midas touch. It's Jerry, the Golden God singer.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Good to be here again. Paul, I'm glad you showed up this week.
I'm so glad to be here with you, Jerry. That makes it all worth it for me.
Thanks, man.
Wow, Jerry finally carrying his weight. If he brings Paul, it's worth 2.5 Jerry's now. Thanks thanks so much, buddy. Whether he's scuttling through the latest hot topics or basking in the spotlight of our stage, this reptilian regular is always a step ahead. Weighing in at 2.4 pounds, he's the little lizard legend who leaves a Godzilla-sized impression. It's my co-host Lambs.
GM, everyone. I'd love to see some familiar faces here who haven't been here for a while. Great to have everyone back on the panel. Paul, I will say though, by the end of the episode, you got to give us some alpha. You can't come in with an opener like that and like give us all these teases and then not like tell
Okay,
us
I will.
anything. Come on.
The hardest thing, and you guys are all so familiar with this. So first of all, I'm gonna push the boundaries of that. Unfortunately, Katie can hear me in the other room through the door, so I'm gonna have to get a little bit quieter when I do that, and hope she's just not tuning in and can only hear me through the door. But it's like the hardest thing because like we can't market crypto stuff to U.S. investors, blah blah blah, U.S. users, and so like there's this dance that I got to do about the things I'm super excited about and the things I'm also collaborating with other organizations on that I can't talk about or market. But anyway, I'm gonna push those boundaries.
You can market it to me in my DMs, Paul. It's okay. We'll just pretend I'm not in America. It's fine. It's just between us. I am going to give away one of those Lumitera whitelists in just another second after I get through these ad reads. So if you want a chance at winning the very first one, make sure you get a retweet in there, and then I'll be giving it to a bunch of commenters and retweeters throughout the show. So it's not your only chance. Get ready for a ride down the coolest, most colossal slope in the blockchain universe with Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. With speed that leaves lightning in the dust and security so tight even a Yeti couldn't break through, it's pretty compelling. But here is the frosty cherry on top. Avalanche is onboarding the biggest names known to the masses. Will follow. Konami, Solo Leveling, Off the Grid, and Maple Story are all building their own subnets. Actually, excuse me, Layer 1s. We're changing that one. With RoboKaiden now launching on Elixir, more is sure to follow. And elsewhere on Avalanche, prepare for a thunderdome of tactical turmoil where every bullet blazes a trail of triumph. Shrapnel isn't just rewriting the rulebook, it's blowing it to bits with explosive excitement and fiery ferocity. Excuse me, as the cough drop I'm sucking on almost falls out of my mouth. This extraction shooter is a blast of brilliance, demolishing the competition with its unmatched intensity. STX 3.2 just finished up, like Dub said, but there's always a chance right around the corner. With monthly STXs on the menu, pay your gameplay with a trap token or an operator to unlock next level opportunities. Huge thank you to Shrapnel for being the official game of Gamified, which is powered by none other than Stardust. And StarNet is the next generation ad network powering the $100 billion spent every single year on user acquisition. Instead of being owned by Google and Facebook, StarNet is owned by games and applications, creating a decentralized and equitable ad tech ecosystem. Starbase is the first application on the StarNet ecosystem, and it is the premier missions platform designed for gamers where you can play games, complete missions, and earn gems. Big thank you to StarNet, Stardust, Starbase, and the stars I'm seeing after having to say all that for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. We're going to give out whitelist number 1 to Mr. Rahman, who gave us a quote tweet already. Big thank you, Rahman. Appreciate you, brother. You'll get that Lumitera whitelist, which is on the Ronin network. We're going to jump into topic number 1. We have a little bit of a metaverse centric episode here because there was a great data report. Don't worry, there's still plenty of Web3 stuff that we'll dive into, especially in the second half of the show. But very first, we're going to start off on a little bit of a lighter note. What's the world for Walmart and IKEA making real world jobs that pay $16 an hour for standing online in their metaverse in Roblox version of Walmart and Roblox version of I forget the other one, IKEA and Fortnite as well. Stardust Wills, you have the hand up first. What's the word?
This one hits really personally for me, and the word is finally. I just moved into a new apartment and have been trying to get internet up and everything sorted, and it is a hellish experience going through all of the phone lines and the emails and the apps. If let's say Spectrum or Frontier had a store in Roblox that I could go into and talk to someone, and I knew that I was talking to a real person, and I could point with my little cubic hand at the product that I need, I would 100% be in for that. And I think that this is a real sort of evolution, because I think the kind of the phone dial-in automated customer service has kind of reached the end of its lifeline to the point where it's just no longer useful. And I think that this kind of interactive experience, whether it be in Roblox or on the company website, having people available and to make those real connections is going to be super huge for any and all products moving forward.
That was actually a much more well-rounded answer than I expected. Lems had the hand up next. Lems, what's your word for this?
I was conflicted between future or dystopian, but like, Wills, does that mean you can actually use it to like have real world interactions? I assumed it was just for like digital world things, but it sounds like you can order physical stuff through the like metaverse platforms. Like, I don't know, that's actually really cool if that's the case. And that's actually a much bigger use case than I would have thought. Because if it's not that and it's just like entering the world and wandering around the world, I really think it is a little bit dystopian, but also probably still the future.
It dawned on me. It'd be really cool to be able to walk into one of these metaverses and type in the dimensions of your room. Be like, I have 10 feet by 12 feet or whatever, and then literally have them put the couch in the space and show you exactly how it would fit. That'd be pretty awesome. Let's tag in Knock next. Knock, what's the word for this?
My word's evolution. I was looking at these topics last night as I'm laying in bed. My girlfriend's playing Overcooked in the other room, and her friends are screaming about what's going on with Overcooked. And the minute her session wraps up, she walks into the room. She goes, "You want to order McDonald's?" And I thought about it. I'm like, this is like the fourth time this week that you finished a session of Overcooked, came into the bedroom, said, "You want to order food?" It's like 10 p.m. This is ridiculous. But I think that this is how a lot of people interact with certain products and certain games. You experience something, it makes you think of something else, and you want to participate within that ecosystem. So, to Lem's point, if you can order actual products online, great. I think that's awesome. I think that's a natural evolution of meeting customers where they're at. Even if you can't, I think the idea of sitting around and getting paid to like LARP in a Roblox version of IKEA is still worth it from a brand awareness perspective. My Overcook is not branded, but imagine if it was branded. Imagine if it was a McDonald's version of Overcook. I guarantee you, everybody who finishes a session is opening up Uber Eats the minute that session's over and ordering some food. So I think that this is a natural evolution. It scares the shit out of me. I agree with Lems. I think this is a little dystopian, but I also think it's really fucking cool at the same time, especially if you can order products from the experience.
Yeah, shout out to Overcook, which almost ended my previous relationship, not the one I'm currently engaged in. But I think Overcook has potentially ruined more relationships than World of Warcraft, which is a hell of a feat. Congratulations to those guys. Jerry, over to you.
This is so lame, dude. I am fucking shocked sometimes when I come on this panel and you guys say things are cool. And I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about, dude? The last time I had to step into a Walmart was before I went to Sam's house, and I fucking came back. I walked into Sam's house stressed out, and I had to vent for like 20 minutes because of the fucking hellhole that that place is. And we're fucking encouraging them to come and take over our video games. Like, what are we talking about? Gabe Layden would be so disappointed in this panel, dude. That guy can't handle a cutscene, right? You think he's gonna handle a fucking self checkout line at a place with these? Yeah,
Gabe doesn't know a good game from a Pop Tart.
dude.
Okay, I said it to his face.
Yo, I mean, dude, yeah, we don't even we're fucking spamming the A button to get through a cutscene, and you want me to sit in a queue while these fucking slow people in their self checkout line fucking slowly ring through their fucking 400 items? What are we doing, dude?
Oh my gosh, let me go
Yeah,
after Jerry.
I
Please let
went
me
to
go
an
after Jerry.
IKEA literally last week, right? And I wanted to buy a rug, right? And I go to the rug section and I go, okay, they don't have the rug I want. Let me look online. It says they have four, right? There's not four anywhere. And then I go to the lady and I go, hey, it says you have four of these. Can I get one? And she says, well, are they there? And I said, if they were there, do you think we'd be having this conversation? And then she goes, it takes about 20 minutes for her to tell me that they don't have them, nor can they ship it to me, right? And I go now, and I ask the rest of this panel, we want to pay these people $16 an hour to stand there digitally? Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's for me.
But Jerry, maybe the physical world is the problem, and the digital world just streamlines it and turns it from that hellhole experience
Yes.
into a wonderful time.
Oh, yeah, because that's what corporations are good at. They're known to take shitty fucking shopping experiences in person and make them better digitally.
The Walmart verse is going to be incredible. It's going to be utopian, even. Wild Paul, I eagerly accept your invitation.
Okay, can I just ask a question? Does Jerry have kids? Do we know he
I
doesn't
don't
have
No.
have
kids, right?
kids,
Jerry,
nor
do
do
you
I
have kids?
ever want
Okay,
them.
cool. So good. This furthers my theme. So Knock and Jerry are in this no man's land of like being too old to be a kid themselves and not having kids, so they don't actually know what's fun, and they're like totally disconnected from all. Sorry, no, I'm not really, but and by the way, you're in our target demographic for wild card, so
Now I'm not
please,
gonna
I hope
play
you
it
love wild card.
after you don't fucking insult me and then tell me to play your game.
Okay, but let me give you a way out here. Okay, go look up the game called Unpacking on Steam if you haven't seen it yet. It's 26,000 reviews, which I forget the metrics, but I think you have to like multiply that by 1,000 to get a sense of their scale. So this has been an extremely successful game. It's for sale for $20. They've made tens of millions of dollars on this game. Literally, all you do the top level sentences. Unpacking is a Zen puzzle game about the familiar experience of pulling possessions out of boxes and fitting them into a new home. Okay, extremely popular game that has turned that incredibly mundane thing that Jerry is trying to get you all to hate into a thing that is actually amazing and wonderful and beloved. And to use another example, like dump a box of Legos on the floor, and I hear Katie yelling at me something from the other room. She's not on the panel, so I don't have to hear that, and I can't hear you through the door. Um, Dump a box of unfiltered Legos out on the floor, and I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with that. But give me, okay, bye. Sorry, thank you. This is like this is next level. Yeah, I need that. Nobody's giving me that game. Give me give me Amazon the game where I can just somehow like have boxes pile up at a virtual door and feel like, oh, there's the things I ordered. I can't wait to open those and just because like that's half the fun of Amazon. If we're all honest here, it's like you get to as an adult with some disposable income, you get to like make every day into Christmas. You open boxes. Anyway, that's a thing, y'all. And I agree with Jerry. Like, who knows if IKEA is soulless or not, or if they're gonna get it right. But somebody could get it right. And when I saw this thing by IKEA, I'm like, y'all are not taking it far enough. You should have like rebranded something like Unpacking or whatever. Like, really get to the soul of what people love about the IKEA experience, which is number one, getting lost in a maze and wondering if you're ever gonna get out alive, eating meatballs, and like putting together
And getting the
furniture,
wrong
pulling your
size
hair
Allen
out with
wrench.
how awful
Yeah,
that
with your
is.
fucking
Yeah,
bookcase.
yeah, exactly. Like, but the example I was going to use with Legos is look at Minecraft. Like, it takes that experience and makes it digital. And then I'm kind of like, I don't want to mess with Legos because I don't have to clean up my Minecraft blocks when I've left a mess behind. Like, I think that there is a way to translate, but we have taken this topic way beyond what Sam ever thought. But there's a way to translate that into something that would kind of tickle us boomers, and probably also be something the kids love.
Oh,
Oh my
dude.
god.
I love what you said, Paul, but I just want to, whoever said the children are our future didn't have to deal with fucking Gen Z kids playing unpacking games. Well, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Dude, Katie resorted to texting me instead instead of screaming through the wall now, so that I can give him the dirt. I'm gonna post something up in the chat. Make sure you check it out. It's hilarious. Also, we already talked about Overcooked ruining relationships, World of Warcraft ruining relationships. We're gonna find out if Gamified can ruin some relationships today. Apparently, Eliza, tagging you in next. What's the word for Roblox and Fortnite paying people to sort of just hang out in their metaverse?
Okay, I would say predictable for three reasons. Number one, everything is moving towards gamification. Number two, kids love to role play jobs. Like, I know every single person here role played doing something, whether it was being a cashier or, I don't know, the fire brigade, fucking anything. And number three, corporations are always going to look for max profit. And since games are a social hotspot, it's like, yeah, it comes to absolutely no surprise. So, yeah, it was pretty predictable, and I don't think it's the end of it.
Succinct, clear, and accurate. Knock, I'm tagging you in next.
Yeah, just a quick counterpoint to Jerry's who is playing this thing or who wants to actually do this. Evidently, fucking everybody. All of the top game modes on things like Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite, anything where there's a major UGC element, it always defaults to some version of move this shit from here and
Some
put
version
that
of
shit over
Animal
there
Crossing.
or
It's all
clean
Animal
something up.
Crossing.
Fuck yeah, Animal Crossing, fucking Stardew Valley. Unpacking, by the way, the demographic is actually a lot older than you think. I have a bunch of friends who literally, after a stressful day of work, will open up unpacking and put boxes away in a fucking video game, which I think is crazy.
You guys have
But to
the
pretend
worst
like this isn't a
friends.
massive category is insane to me. Like this is one of the biggest category of games that exists. It's continuing to grow year over year. And whenever anybody builds like a UGC game mode, it is almost always some version of like a regular mundane life task that you now do in a video game. Fuck, GTA role playing servers are literally guys driving around LARPing as police officers and mailmen. This is clearly something there's a massive interest in.
There's an entire community of people that just play as air traffic controllers for flight simulators. Like, they literally sit in a tower and just talk over a virtual radio to airplanes.
This,
Like, this is, of course, it's like
Paul.
Eliza's word, role playing, was exactly the word I was going to use. That's what it is. And here's your little alpha about wildcard. Sorry to jump in. Uh, there may be a wild card cooking game at some point because that's how pervasive, like Doc is saying, these desires are. And then we've actually leaked some of the recipes, future recipes from the wild card cooking game that you can go find on our Twitter.
That is insane. Just promise that there'll be more depth in gameplay than like a Telegram cooker game. If it doesn't ruin as many relationships as Overcooked, it was a failure, Paul. Let's tag Eliza back in. Actually, she raised the hand. I'm curious to see what she wanted to add again.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about these kind of topics like really deeply, like what makes a game fun and like just play in general. And I actually recommend this guy called Ian Bogost, and he basically says that games are made fun because of their constraints. So like the more freedom you have in a game, the less fun it actually is. And I don't know if you guys, well, I mean, okay, obviously people here have played open world games, but like I'm not a fan of open world games because there's too much freedom, too much choice. Like you kind of want to be directed. And I think that's actually what relieves stress is like, in your everyday to day life, like you need to have control over everything. You're managing a ton of stuff. So in a way, like for me at least, in a game, like I like to have specific directions and I like to, yeah, just basically play in an environment that has loads of rules and constraints because that is kind of what makes it fun. And yeah, for certain personalities that's even more fun because they kind of have to like it's intellectually stimulating because you have to like find a way out or you have to like, yeah, figure out a way to solve the game with like limited resources or whatever it is. So honestly, like the fact that these games are super popular just makes sense. Like ultimately we're kind of looking to be like a puppet, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken me a very long time, I think, to come to the acceptance part of mourning human psychology on this one. Spang Will's ear says, "Children yearn for the mines." I'm gonna send it over to him on that note.
I'm just thinking about it now. Like one of the other points that Sam you sent over is that how much of their time are Gen Z kids spending in Fortnite, Roblox, and Minecraft. Think about all the unutilized capital labor just sitting in those markets. We give them jobs at Walmart, IKEA. We put that to work. We give them the labor that they so desire.
I'm curious, does this stop being fun though? Because now you're not doing it to stress relieve. Now you have like a boss that's like, oh, you put the boxes in the wrong spot. You're supposed to put them over. Oh, your customer service. You didn't.
These are
Yes,
the
all
Yeah,
that
put the
stuff.
constraints that
put the Amazon risk
that
tracker
Elijah
on,
was just
bitches.
talking about. These are
Yeah, and
the
some people are
rules,
going to
the
want to role play as
difficulties.
bosses, and some people are going to role play as like, yeah, all that
This
exactly.
topic is infinitely more interesting than I ever could have guessed whenever we were writing this up. Let's send it over to Dub and Coop. I know your hand was up at some point. It disappeared. I'm not sure if that's Twitter or that's you. Just saying.
Dude, it gets even freaking worse, bro. It's a rabbit hole. Like the word is inevitable, and like they've been building for this for a while. This is a play from the large retailers. There's a transformation amongst all of them for gamification of their shopping experiences. And I was literally, when I was at Decathlon, I was in a VR shopping experience selling tents for Americans. The idea was like literally they came into their shop, they put on the VR goggles, they spoke to Dub, and Dub was walked them around and showed them all the little tents and what they did and how what was cool about them. And like that, it's I've been there, done that shit. Like, I was getting paid for it while doing that. It just makes sense, and it's the future, man. So looking forward to seeing it.
Crazy stuff. Let's tag in Coop, then I'll send it back to Wild Paul.
Yeah, to Dub's point, there's a bunch of consultants and marketing agencies that focus on digital transformation, and they're all pushing this kind of thing. Like the old agency that I worked for, it's a big page on their site about how they help you integrate into the metaverse and like build one of these stores and staff employees in it and all that. So it's definitely the future.
Man, just eerie almost. Let's go to Wild Paul, then we'll tag in Fresco.
Yeah, I just wanted to add the word, which is underestimated. So I think for the developers who have tapped into what Eliza and Dub are fully up to speed on, which is the just how much people want to experience these things that we think would be so dumb as represented digitally. And yet we like them in real life. And it turns out that we like even doing these dumb, repetitive things digitally. It scratches the same itch in our brain, and our brains almost can't tell the difference. Like, don't underestimate that. There are entire game genres that have become so wildly popular, kind of like behind the scenes. Like you guys, most of you guys haven't heard of Unpacking, but it's a wildly popular indie game. So like, yeah, underestimate this at your own peril.
Yeah, whenever I was thinking about World of Warcraft and why I loved it so much growing up, but I was thinking about it as an adult, so I was looking at it in retrospect. I was like, oh, I just liked the feeling of progression because I was young, I was homeschooled, so I didn't have a lot of like opportunities to see progress in grades and stuff. I didn't have a lot of the normal things, so I loved seeing progress in like leveling up and the dopamine, the way it was structured, whatever. But I never would have guessed that we could have just replicated all the aspects of a job with none of the actual progression, and people still would have been like, "Yeah, it's a great idea." Let's type in.
I want to drop one other term for you guys to Google, which is cozy games. A lot of these are called that. They fall under that genre, and I think that word is perfect for it.
Ah, interesting. I wouldn't have thought of putting boxes away as a cozy game, but it does kind of fit the bill. Jerry, over to you.
Yeah, they're cozy games for these kids, these punk ass kids who've never had to put boxes away, dude. That's just stressful, man.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, Jerry is doubling down.
I
Employees.
am doubling down, dude. And I will. You know what, Sam? If I may, I said something last week where I said this panel was the problem with gaming about the panel last week, and I'm gonna take it back and I'm gonna say this panel is the problem with gaming, dude. You guys are you guys
We're laughing all the way
you
to the
guys,
bank.
no,
Yeah.
dude. Everybody's like, "Oh, EA sucks, dude," and they build these fucking great sports games and stuff. And then they're like, "Oh, let's play these Walmart games, dude." You guys fight against big corps in gaming, And then you're like, yeah, but Walmart and IKEA, that's cool. Well, let's embrace that.
Okay, well, to be fair, like none of us are actually advocating for Walmart the game.
I'm
Like
talking about
Animal
Walmart
Crossing
here.
is the version of that I
I'm
want.
talking
Okay,
about
fine, you're right.
Walmart here. That's like, and I don't love the comparison of saying that like, you know, Dave the Diver is like a restaurant sim, because I mean it kind of is, and I can see that line being connected in some way, but like that's a completely different world than fucking walking through the maze at IKEA and then
That's a
engorging on meatballs.
Cthulhu cozy game. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Cthulhu cozy game.
Yeah, so hey, you know, and I will say that guys, I got into gaming because I wanted to build real cool shit and I wanted to change people's lives. You fucking people want Walmart to come in and build the future of gaming, and I think that says a lot about you.
I think Jerry just left off the end of that sentence, which is, and if that's what you want, and you'll pay me
Yeah.
for it. Fine, I'll go
Well,
build you a
I
Walmart
would,
game.
but yeah. And I just want in the Walmart game, I hope that they put the true Walmart experience in there, where you have to walk by, you know, hypodermic needles. You have to take your $200 worth of groceries through a dimly lit parking lot with the lights fucking flickering and shopping carts all over the place. So just make it a true experience. Don't make it the ideal experience, because it doesn't exist.
Just make sure that the toilet for sale is usable in the
Yeah,
store.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know why you're speaking future tense when this thing has already been out for like
We're like
literally a
designing
year.
this game live. This is my favorite version. My favorite new game mode on
No,
Gamified is like, let's just make a game.
Yeah, just a quick.
Walmart already shipped it.
This was actually a focus group set up by Walmart. They're paying me for this to bring you guys together and get some feedback. Gway, I want to hear your word for Fortnite and Roblox teaming up with Walmart and IKEA to put jobs in the metaverse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation, but it's just like triggering some other like relational thoughts in my mind. Thought I'd share this. I mean, one personal anecdote, and it's kind of like a guilty pleasure of mine, is that in my now 30s, I am always like my entire repertoire of like TV show has devolved into the trashiest of reality television. And in my 20s, I would like completely look down on myself for doing that. But inevitably, here I am. And I think that, hits on a similar chord in the sense that, I mean, trashy reality shows allow me to kind of unwind by the end of the day because my life has become more and more complex. And I think this relates to this other concept that I learned while I was in finance, which is this idea of what's called a concurrent necessity, which means it basically means that if A is true, then by definition B has to be true. And I think what we're observing is probably the phenomenon that like we require these types of like processes and or game loops and or constraints that help us like unwind and relax and make it a bit more simplified because there are other aspects of our lives that are more chaotic and trending towards more complexity. So by definition, I think that's where the world is trending, and by definition, I think this category of gaming will continue to grow.
Wow, I didn't expect so much catharsis for me personally to come out of this topic, but Gway, I mean, I have watched an insane amount of 90 Day Fiance over the past few years, and there is something just incredible about watching somebody make a decision that you know is terrible and watching them convince themselves that that decision is not terrible, and then watching them slowly realize that that decision was terrible and realizing that you were right. It is just amazing levels of catharsis, to reuse the same word. Jake Luster in the comments says MetaQuest did/does this too. They pay people to be in their metaverse and hang out with them, but also basically just greet people and help orient them. I haven't been in Facepalm's meta for a couple of years, but at least this used to be a thing. Jake Luster, thanks so much for weighing in. I'm going to give you the second Lumitera whitelist that we have. 3 more to go, so keep jumping in the comments, retweeting, etc. Thanks so much, guys. I'm going to send it over to Lems, and then Wild Paul get the last word before we move on.
Yeah, I think one thing I've taken away from listening to everyone is that we're really showing our demographic on this panel, to say it nicely. It's a different era right now, clearly for gaming, and yeah, like Jerry, the whole time, all I could think of was these damn kids these days. They don't know what fun games are. Which, I agree with your points generally. I want to play something that I actually feel like I'm playing, and not a power wash simulator like I saw for sale the other day on the Steam store, because that shit is just weird as hell to me. But I like an open world game that I'll wander around in. That's what I'll use to unwind. I don't want a PvP game. I'll have a nice, PvE casual wander around. That's what I like to do. But hey, to each their own, I guess. If people want to, serve food at a fake McDonald's or work in a fake Walmart, then I guess teach their own.
And I'm gonna give you guys the final word. And man, this topic exploded, but and I've added a couple words, but really the word here that helps bring us all home is escapism, y'all. As game developers and game designers, our job ultimately is to deliver escapism for some audience out there that wants to escape into that thing. And it's kind of more telling for each of us what we find to be a fun escape versus the thing. Like the fact that Jerry doesn't want to escape into IKEA or Walmart probably means he's in that phase of his life where he has to go to IKEA and Walmart on a regular basis. And so like that is like the last version of escapism that he wants to beat up prostitutes on the street in Grand Theft Auto. That's his escapism or
Hey,
whatever it is.
dude.
Whereas for some of us, yeah, we want to escape to, something like Glenn's just said, to power washing cars because we don't do that very often. So for us, that seems like escapism. But the great thing is, as game developers, we really get to play with this concept of escapism universally. And we're not looking for things that are, I mean, it's great when we find something like Words with Friends that I guess 500 million people want to escape into. But, it's also great when something like unpacking finds its niche. And it's just so cool that we live in a world where the kind of games we create can find these narrow audiences and still be wildly successful at creating escapism for people who want to power wash their cars
Dude, only
digitally.
Wild Paul can make me feel bad about hating certain games. Well done. Well played. I've changed my mind a little bit. Ramon in the comments says, a Walmart game sounds like so much fun to me, thinking of all the cool features. Matt Defies says, the panel bonding over their guilty pleasures is not something I had in the cards for today. And Coop, who's on the panel right now, says, I didn't get a chance to say it, but I was thinking before the call that I'm annoyed Ed left because now I have to be on a call with Jerry every week. And man, it's really hitting me in this conversation. Oh, savage. All right, let's move on. A staggering 56% of Gen Z gamers say they prioritize styling their virtual selves over their physical in real life appearance.
Oh my gosh, this is the same topic. Here we go again.
It kind of is. Okay, but we're switching it up. Over under, will that number, 56% of Gen Z gamers, go up to 75% by 2030? I think we can all agree that that number is likely to increase over time, but how much and how fast? Over under 75% by 2030. And does this mean that skins are the best monetization gaming has to offer? Let's tag in Jerry first on this one.
Yeah, Sam, probably because they're gonna have parents like this panel who are like, "Hey, kid, go play your fucking Walmart game," and who gives a shit about like hitting home runs or
Oh my
anything?
gosh, I can't wait when Jerry has kids and he can tell us how
Who,
he's doing
yeah,
that so
dude,
much better.
who cares about throwing touchdowns? Let's go be like the dude who, I don't want to shit on anybody's job here, so I'm gonna not say what I was gonna say. But yeah, I don't know. Probably kids care more apparently about digital couches than they do real ones. I'm shocked. I'm in shock here, Sam. The last time I had to go to a Walmart was because of you, and now people are defending Walmart because of you. So I'm a little shook. I'm gonna start smoking. I'm gonna walk my ass to Walmart and get some cigarettes.
Traumatized. Traumatized by Gamify.
Why does Jerry have all the same takes as my 69-year-old father who's never touched a video game in his life? Knock over to you.
That is the real question.
Oh man, this number is going to be over, and not because Gen Z is soft, like Jiri wants to say, but because this is the natural evolution of things. Don't tell me that everybody here who's ever played a game growing up didn't like to flex their cosmetics on all of their friends and style their in-game character in a way that made them look better than everybody else, or flex an item that they purchased. Most MMOs have some version of, like, in RuneScape it's called Fashionscape, but in every other game it exists, where the whole idea is literally your cosmetic appearance. And wow, there are fucking transmogs to make all your shitty shit look like cool shit that you paid for. So this has always existed. It's always going to continue to exist. And Jerry, for what it's worth, I played sports growing up. I'm 29 years old. My body is an absolute fucking shambles, and I'm probably going to go down with CTE. So I don't think playing games is a bad thing.
No, dude, don't twist it. Don't do that. Hold on, I have to eject that last part. Play games out there, kids. Play games, but don't dye your hair pink.
Play games, just not those games, in quotes. Already 100 comments, a bunch of retweets. Just want to say thank you to the amazing audience. Tons of engagement. Really enjoying seeing you guys' responses to the questions as we go. Let's tag in Coop up next. Coop, what do you think about this one? Over under 75% by 2030 of Gen Z gamers caring more about their digital appearance than their physical one.
Yeah, I think it's over, and I think it's just been on the uptrend. Like somebody mentioned, World of Warcraft. Like back in 2005, like one of the main things I cared about is what does my character look like, even before transmog and before you could buy anything to look cool. So I think it hasn't been that long where skins have been super prevalent, and I think it's just going up.
Yeah, transmog to me and skins in general, I think I missed this by like 5 years where all of a sudden it went from you have to earn everything that you wear to you have to just kind of buy it and decide what you want to look like and you kind of have full expression. And that just completely made me stop caring about cosmetics because I always wanted it to be representative of what I earned. So I think it's just a generational thing. I don't know if this one will ever click for me personally. Gway, I'm tagging you in, brother, and then we'll go to Will's.
Yeah, as a new father, I can assure you that the digital realm is going to win in the future. Like, there's no competition, zero. And yeah, Jerry, just wait until you have kids if you ever do that. And man, it's an uphill battle that you'll never win. The fact that this child is just like transfixed by anything on a screen, it renders us irrelevant in terms of how we want to compete. Like, I only have a finite amount of energy throughout a day, and it's no match for the infinite amount of content that's stimulating in the digital realm. And then in addition to that, if you factor into the social structures that these kids are growing up in, if their entire social ecosystem also exists online or in digital realms, then yeah, that's going to be the selling point. So yeah, I think it's the over easily.
Moglin.eth in the comments says, my chill game is flying around on a Pteranodon. I don't know how to say that. Collecting loot boxes that descend from the sky as the sun sets in Ark Survival. That sounds way cooler than putting boxes away in an IKEA. And Shady Shiba also says, it's why I hate video games that use more realistic graphics. I don't want to be reminded of the reality that I'm trying to escape, given the games and their unique
Thank
style
you.
is escapism. Yeah, it's great stuff. Wills, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, to take a little bit of a more depressing turn on this, I definitely think it's going to be over. But I think it's because the physical, like physical appearance is something that's so stuck, and it's so much harder to change. And if you look around, or even if you just go on Twitter, you see, like I saw on my Twitter feed, a house, like a car-shaped villa that somebody has. Like, how do you compete with that? How do I feel good about my new one-bedroom apartment that I'm very happy about when that exists? So you can't really fault kids for wanting to prioritize their digital appearance, because that's where they can compete. That's where they can sort of be on a level playing field with everyone else. So it's good things and bad things.
Yeah, it's a great point, brother. All right, let's move on. Stardew Valley CEO concerned ape. Is he a Chad or a chump? I'm sorry to the panelists. I actually didn't get this one out to you in time before the show, so we're gonna get the reactions in real time here. The founder of the beloved project mentioned that the new ports for the game and PC update are still in progress, and that it was quote on his mind every minute unquote. A reply on Twitter said that as long as everything was completely free, people won't complain and they will wait. And he replied with quote, I swear on the honor of my family name, I will never charge money for a DLC or update for as long as I live. Screen cap this and shame me if I ever violate this oath. Huge statement out of the legendary game maker. My question for the panel, is this something he will live to regret saying? And is he a Chad or a chump for having said it? Let's send it over to Lems first.
All right. Well, I mean, I think it's an easy one to say Chad. I actually was looking on Reddit and I saw some people talking about how he's just virtue signaling and how do you twist this into a negative situation when he's basically saying like, I'll give you guys free DLC for life. I think that's pretty sweet. He's made a bunch of money off the game. I think the game blew up much like larger than he would have ever expected it to. So he's made a bunch of money and he's just happy to be passionate and still get to work on the game. I think it's awesome. He even says something in the Twitter comments about like, hey, this isn't throwing shade on people who charge for DLC. I'm just in this position and I can do it. And this is what I want to do. This is his sort of ethos.
Let's send it over to Jerry next.
Yeah, is there microtransactions in the game?
Stardew Valley. I'm honestly not sure. I'm sure somebody can answer that. Eliza's giving it the thumbs down.
Okay, he could be a Chad.
Yeah.
Go him.
y-
I'm in it for him. I like him. He made a lot of money. You know, he's living a good life, so doesn't need to. You know, watch out for Walmart though, buddy.
Let's go to Eliza next.
I don't know if you guys can hear the fan. I'm sorry if you can. But yeah, no, I've actually played a shit ton of Stardew Valley. I used to play like the version. I used to play Harvest Moon when I was like really young, like under 10 years old. I played it on Nintendo DS and Stardew Valley. I think I'm pretty sure he's been inspired by Harvest Moon because it's like practically identical. Um, but yeah, no, there's zero microtransactions, like literally nothing. I think you just obviously pay for the game. It works on mobile. You can get it on console. I played it like on the Switch mainly. You can also play it on PC. But yeah, no, my take is that he's definitely a Chad, and it makes me happy that like we have different types of game developers. You know, we have indie developers, we have like bigger companies that are developing games, and like ultimately that's the amazing thing about gaming is like there's so many different types of games. And yeah, I think it's really important for there to still be games like this, with like yeah, virtually no money required to do anything. Because especially I think for kids, like I don't know, I like if there was a Nintendo DS games where like I had to pay a shit ton of stuff, like I would not be able to do that. Like my parents never gave me money for games. Like I had to beg them to get a membership. I don't remember what it was called. Like basically like a premium membership in Club Penguin, and it was like the equivalent of I don't know maybe like $5 a month. But like my parents just wouldn't give me money for that, right? So yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember trying to justify my $15 a month World of Warcraft subscription to my parents, and every month it was a challenge. But somehow I figured it out 6 years in a row. Will's over to you.
Yeah, I mean, like absolute Chad, I think is the consensus. I think especially in the previous conversation, we get a little lost on the fact that making games is an art form, and game developers are artists, and they just want to be able to build great games. And when some of them are able to get the market appeal that their phenomenal games observes, they can just take it and run. And I think that that's something that should be a lot more relevant. And I think that the reason this garners so much support from people is because the other options, i.e., paid DLCs, microtransaction, or releasing your game 3 days early, are are so frustrating for the end user. And that's what I hope Web3 will solve is providing alternatives to these kind of new methods that reward both the players and the developers. Also, Club Penguin is very hype, and I had to slave away at the dishes for those Kajutsu decks.
Amazing. I love all the nostalgia coming out of about this episode, hearing people's lifelong childhood obsessions. For anybody asking in the comments, I'm fine. I'm just a little bit harder to hear. My voice is gone. I'm feeling a little sick, but we're halfway through the show and we're still making it. So we'll be good. Let's send it over to Knock next, and we'll tag in Wild Paul.
Yeah, there's a book called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels that I have been shilling for literal 2 years now on this show, and continue to recommend that everybody who is interested in gaming reads the book. But in it, Concerned Ape has a piece, which is the guy's like alias. He has a piece where he talks about the development of Stardew Valley and the way that he approaches games. And he is a Chad, and he's a Chad for a couple of reasons. This game, the development of this game, literally, like quite literally, almost cost him everything. He left his job. He almost lost his relationship with his now wife. He almost lost his health. He lost his entire life savings. He almost couldn't make payments, and when it came to like his actual like mortgage and shit like that, because he was so focused on building this game, which he built pretty much entirely by himself. He did everything from the actual the core gameplay mechanics, to the music, to everything that happens in Stardew Valley was built by a one-man show. And he talks about how much the game itself means to him beyond the financial success that came with the launch of Stardew Valley. Now he's building Haunted Chocolatier, which hopefully will come out sometime, or maybe it already has. I can't remember. Which he's also building by himself, or largely by himself. So this is a dude who really deeply loves building games. He almost lost everything in the pursuit of building Stardew Valley, and he's been true to his word every step of the way as it pertains to Stardew and the things that he's building with Haunted Chocolatier. So for me, I believe it. I buy it. This feels like a guy who sees this game as more than just a cash cow that it inevitably became. But yeah, this dude is a seems like a great dude. Definitely read his like little excerpt from Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. It's one of the best pieces in the entire book. And go play Stardew Valley because it's fucking awesome.
That is absolutely incredible. Imagine making that much money and then deciding to do it again by yourself instead of just hiring help. Like, you must just love every part of game design. Sometimes that holds me back too whenever it comes to creating content, is I want to have my hands on every piece of it because I enjoy every piece of it and I like variety. But at the end of the day, to like get things out the door, it's hard. So I can't imagine whenever it's something as big as a game being like, yeah, yeah, no, I'll just take 9 years. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Wild Paul, over to you.
I think this guy is a total Chad, and I'm going to keep my response brief. I've been quiet for the last 10 minutes because Lems challenged me to get the Not Wild Paul account on Twitter before anyone else did, and I got it done. So you chumps could have had that, but now it's mine. And don't follow me because that's definitely not Wild Paul that owns that account. But yeah, this guy's a Chad. The only thing I ever get bothered by here is when this philosophy that worked for Concerned Ape, or maybe didn't work, because I mean he did things that most people wouldn't be willing to do, as Nock was pointing out, like sacrifice so much to get there. I I just don't like when that is then projected onto other developers as like, well, because this guy did it this way, you're you guys are jerks if you don't do it this way. If you take it, take advantage of free to play mechanics to drive your game, or utilize those mechanisms, like, to each their own. I love that he's kind of adopting this philosophy and that that's his approach, but I also think that there are developers out there who find ways to make other mechanisms and other philosophies work and create just as beloved games. I don't think it's a binary thing.
Well said. Some folks in the comments asking what the title of that book was because they missed it. It's Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and it's about $10 on Amazon. I just bought it on Audible. Actually, I've been meaning to listen to it for a long time. Let's send it over to Dub, then we'll tag in Knock again.
Yeah, I'm glad that I get to be the contrarian here and kind of throw caution in the wind. And like, for sure, the dude's a Chad. Don't get me wrong, but every Chad is only a Chad until he is a chump. Just look at Jerry. And like, you can't make lasting statements like that. It's like saying that, oh, I will never, ever, ever do a crypto game. Like, it's a big aspect of making games and game design and monetization and the whole thing. And to just blink write it off like that, I don't think is like the total Chad move when looking back at it from like a 5 to 10 year perspective, you know.
Uh, that was
Um,
fantastic. Thank you for
not.
taking the
Uh,
contrarian there. Wild Paul.
I just wanted to say officially, Icy is the first person that follows Not Wild Paul. Not that I would know that, but I just was looking at that other person's account and noticed.
Well played, I see. Knock, over to you for the last word, brother.
Yeah, two things. One, to Paul's point, Concerned Ape has been on a number of different like shows and interviews where he talks about, in his words, how he has a little bit of a what he believes to be a mental illness when it comes to his approach to building games. And he definitely acknowledges that it's not something that's sustainable or should be replicated, and it was incredibly unhealthy. And he talks as much about that very publicly. The other
I
piece,
love
and maybe
that.
a little bit of pushback to what Dub said. Stardew Valley is a game that has 30 million copies sold at somewhere between like 10 to 20 US dollars, depending on what time you bought that game. He is on a single man team, already approaching over $500 million worth of total revenue in this game. I would not be surprised if for Stardew Valley, the DLC that he ships and any future DLC remains free because he's said so much that that is his intention. What'll be interesting to see, and what was unclear in his original statement, is whether or not this will apply to Haunted Chocolatier. Because there's a world where, and I would imagine it probably doesn't, they sell Haunted Chocolatier and he probably loads that game up with a bunch of DLC. I would imagine that that's probably the intelligent move given the success of Stardew. But that's one of the things that people are talking about on Reddit right now. Is the statement overall was relatively vague, and people are pretending or trying to make it apply to Honda Chocolatier. And I think that that's where he might run into some trouble when people start to twist those words.
Jay Cluster in the audience also saying he just picked up Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. Love that this panel can educate the audience and get them to go to the right materials. Makes me happy every time. Wild Paul.
Oh my gosh, that book is so good. I just want to double down on what Eliza's saying. I having been on the frontiers of free to play design and participated in countless debates about the merits and or controversial negative aspects of what kind of free to play monetization has done to game design. I have settled into kind of the way that Eliza was talking about this, which is free to play is a powerful force for making a game more accessible. The ability to enjoy a game and share it with your friend and not worry that your friend is going to have to spend, 15, 20, 30, $50 to join you in that experience is is just a positive thing. Like I there's nothing bad about that. And we have to, when we're designing games like this, think very carefully about how we are then supporting the economics of that game. And this fact is something that we think about all the time with Wildcard right now, because Wildcard is a free to play game, but it's also a crypto game. And so it provides an opportunity for us to ask this question again, and to kind of take a look at the different user cohorts that exist in crypto and figure out how we can bring those user cohorts together in a way where they support each other. Because the best free to play games are actually supporting this giant audience of people that don't spend any money and still love the game through the activities of what is negatively called whales. But when these games do this well, those whales are happy. Like they're loving the experience they're having. They're not feeling bad about that. I mean, there are plenty of games that do a horrible job of this and make those users feel pinched and abused and exploited. But there are games that do a great job of it where it's like, hey, those users are happy because they're like, examples I always use are games like Hearthstone, um, and Clash, and these other games where like when you spend money in them, you don't really feel bad. You're like, that's cool. I loved opening that pack. I love getting that surprising collectible or whatever. Like that doesn't feel bad. And we all know what the bad version of free to play feels like, which we have that term in the industry, which is pinch, which is like these games that pinch you constantly trying to get you to spend money. But I just think that we have discovered that there is a kind of a section of game design or a part of that genre of free to play game design that where it can work, and we're hoping to get there with Wildcard too. So where we have these kind of crypto aspects that crypto users are getting what they love about it, but that their activity is also supporting users who have no interest in that and just really want to play the game competitively or enjoy a free experience with their friends. And I think that what the last 10 years of working in free to play has taught me is that can be achieved.
Yeah, while I largely agree with what you're talking about, it was so insanely expensive to be competitive at Hearthstone, especially after 3 or 4 years of live ops. It got to the point where,
Yeah, I know that was disappointing because it wasn't like that initially, but it kind of did
yeah,
end up
it
like that.
really did get worse and worse. And then, especially with the advent of the internet, obviously, net decking became it's a term for basically you
Yeah,
just.
I really should have qualified. Early Hearthstone is what I meant to say.
Yeah, so basically after like the first 3 days, people would figure out the best decks, and if you weren't willing to blow like $600 on getting the exact cards you needed for the best deck, you just weren't able to be competitive at all.
And by the way, like that's a really good point, Sam, because the thing is, and we talk about this all the time internally when we talk about free to play design, we have this phrase, this mantra, which is we're playing with fire. Because especially as a company whose job it is to make money for its shareholders and in this case potentially, other cohorts as well, I like there's always this inherent tension when we implement free to play mechanics where it wants to push into that. It's like you find something and you're like, well, this supports our user base and it's making us lots of money. But if we did this thing, it would make even more money. And like that threshold is always like right there. You're right. You're like walking the edge of it when you're trying to do good free to play game design. And it's so tempting, I think, for companies, especially big companies like Activision Blizzard, to step over that line because it increases their shareholder returns and everything else. So yeah, it is a dangerous thing, and I think that's why Concerned Ape is taking that stand. As a game designer, it's very freeing when you can be like, you know what, I'm not even going to play with that fire. I'm just going to focus on making a great game that people love, and I'm not going to worry about it. And there's plenty of times when we, as free to play designers, we've also wanted to do that and been like, what if we just charge $20 and never have to deal with this again? And like, yeah, so it's hard.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially after you take VC investment, it's not really up to you anymore. You definitely can't make declarative statements like what he said there.
No, it's still up to us. Depends on the kind of relationship you have with your VC.
Ah, okay, fuck me, I guess. All right, Charlie in the comments says, "Real talk. This show is so much better with TGI Fresco, which is Jerry. He gives often awesome takes that often go against the grain and really helps the quality of gamified. That said, I'm gonna still hit him with the thumbs down every time I can. I did want to read that one off because 100% agree. I know we roast Jerry a lot because it's become sort of part of the lore and the culture here, but we absolutely love what he provides to the show. It is much needed brevity, and it has been for like 70 episodes. So thank you, Jerry. We love you, man. Don't take it too hard.
The more we roast him, the more he grows as MVP on the show, I
They
think.
don't call me the people's champ for no reason.
Just like any good heel in WWE, there it is again. Let's allocate a moment and to applaud the almighty Avalanche, the official blockchain of gamified. Avalanche isn't just flexing its muscles with speed and security; it's bench pressing all of Web3 gaming by bringing T1 Esports and the legend himself, Faker, into Web3. Whether you're aiming for adventure or architecting new strategies, Avalanche is the agile engine accelerating Web3 gaming. Thank you so much for being our sponsor and the official blockchain of gamified. And it's time to dive headfirst into the chaotic carnival known as Shrapnel. Imagine an extraction shooter so intense it makes a shot of Jägermeister look like a glass of water. Shrapnel is your golden ticket to the ultimate gaming glory. Enlist today, earn medal, team up with Moku, enlist your strategy, and let your strategies light up the screen like a Vegas marquee. Huge thank you to Shrapnel for being the official game of Gamified. And also, you can catch some quests to play Shrapnel on StarNet. About the bigwigs like Google and Facebook. Startup puts the power back in the hands of games and apps, crafting a decentralized and equitable ad tech utopia. Introducing Starbase, the shimmering gem of the StarNet galaxy. It's the ultimate missions platform for gamers where you can play games, complete missions, and earn gems. Starbase doesn't just showcase the best playable games in Web3, it embodies the grand vision of StarNet. Get ready to embark on a journey with Starbase and StarNet, the ad network that's rewriting the rules and the official infrastructure of gamified. Two more quick things. First off, we have a Games GG quest. The keyword for that is metaverse. Thank you to Games GG. And if anybody's looking to learn about Web3 gaming, Games GG, in my opinion, is the way to do it. That's games with a three in there somewhere. You can guess where it is. And last but not least, I have a charity activation coming up. I tweeted about doing one the other day, and I'm super, super blessed to have found a sponsor willing to match the very first $25,000 in donations that we got, which absolutely blew my mind. The charity that we're going to be donating for is Extra Life, which does some incredible things for hospitalized children, which is a cause I think everybody can get behind. I'll be doing a 24-hour stream later this month. I had to delay it a bit just so I can make sure I actually have a voice for it, which is going to be very integral to the concept of the stream, which I haven't really announced yet. And some of our favorite people and games will be represented, streamed, included on the stream. If anybody is a content creator, a game, a project, a founder, a VC, anything and wants to be involved as part of the stream, please reach out to me. I'm taking some calls and I want to get as many people involved as possible to just celebrate Web3 gaming.
Extra Life is Extra Life is so hot, y'all. Don't miss it.
Yeah, I know you guys have been big proponents of them in the past, and so if the Bettners love them, you know that they must be legitimate and great. So without further ado, let's move on though. Crack the code. We're jumping into some Web3 native stuff, moving off the Roblox, Fortnite, whatever Web2 drama. Crack the code on rewarding players specifically. What is the best way to reward your players and holder base whenever it comes to airdrops? Should you focus on casting as wide a net as possible to reward as many people as possible, meaning there would be less rewards per player, or do you focus on rewarding smaller amount of players, which means everyone gets a larger amount of rewards, and typically that means it goes to the holder base more than anything. If you pick between, let's say, 100,000 players or 5,000 players receiving the bulk of the rewards, which one do you choose and why whenever it comes to Web3? Mr. Wild Paul, let's tag you in first.
Ooh, I have so many thoughts about this, and I can kind of inadvertently leak some alpha. Also, this is another. I've run into this so many times. This is another false dichotomy in Web3 gaming that's sort of just caused by the fact that we are all here Web3 gamers, and so we also think of ourselves as just gamers. But really, people who would identify as just gamers and not specifically use the term Web3 gamers, that's a different audience, y'all. Like so we don't have to choose between 5,000 people getting the kinds of rewards we would care about or 100,000 people getting those rewards. The answer is 5,000 people is all that need to be on, or some number like that, right? On the order of like 5, 10,000, maybe just double digit thousands is fine, that are receiving these things that we as Web3 gamers would consider amazing rewards associated with crypto value and the things that we all love as Web3 crypto users. That doesn't need to be a huge audience because it turns out that when you have a conversation with the other folks, like it's not hundreds of that, the millions of gamers that want to show up, and you try to pitch them that idea that like lights up a Web3 gamer's eyes, which is, dude, imagine if you could get a rare skin in that game that you could turn around and sell for $100,000. Half or more of that audience, in my experience, are like, they think about that for a second and they're like, I feel like you're trying to scam me. Like I don't that doesn't really sound like that great to me. Like that actually kind of takes away from what I love about getting rare skins in a game if it really just turns into this thing that's meant for me to sell. Like I don't dig that idea. And this is just something that's been part of the kind of dialogue in Web3 gaming this whole time, and I think I'm just ready to call it out, which is it's not realistic. It turns out that gamers care about digital lives in the way that we were talking about it before. Like this is something that kind of represents my identity, and it's a collectible in this game, and I care about it because I'm a World of Warcraft player, I'm whatever else, and that I know this sounds crazy, but the moment that you turn that into something that can be sold on a third party marketplace with a price, you have in a lot of those gamers' minds ruined that experience, cheapened that item. Actually, I know it sounds totally controversial, but I'm telling you from the front lines of having these conversations with this audience that they really are two different perspectives on this. And the silver lining and the great news is if you realize that and you build towards that, you don't have this conflict where you have to distribute 10,000 crypto rewards that really those 10,000 Web3 gamers want so much. And you have to dilute that by giving it out to millions of gamers in the future. No, those millions of gamers just want a rare skin they can show off. And the crypto gamers, you can reserve those rewards that they care about for them.
Interesting takes. I love that you separated those two sort of economies. Lems, let's tag you in, then we'll send it to Knock.
Man, that was so well said by Paul. Yeah, just like having the two different categories. But yeah, just to look at it, I think we talked about this back when there was the block games disaster. Maybe it was on Simplified, I don't remember, but like block games had a disaster for many, many reasons. But one thing that I think it was not highlighted at the time was that they were giving out way too many like rewards to way too many people. So then if too many people get the rewards and it's not meaningful enough, then no one gives a shit. It's like, oh, someone dropped $5 on the floor. It's that kind of a vibe, and no one cares. And what's the point when you're doing it at that point? If you, like the whole point of doing something like an airdrop or rewarding people is to get like marketing value. It's like a user acquisition funnel. And if no one actually cares about the rewards on the other side, then what are you even doing it for in the first place? So like, if we just choose like an arbitrary number of like $1 million, like or the tokens or something like that, and you give it to 100,000 people, everyone gets $10. No one gives a shit. You give it to like 5,000 people, all of a sudden, there you go. Everyone's getting like $200, which, it's actually not that much in Web3 terms, but it's still a decent bag that you get. And what you want to do is you want to create having like a smaller number.
All you have to do is take 10 people out of that 2,000 and give them, $100,000, $10,000 or something, and suddenly it's a much more exciting distribution. Of
Exactly,
course.
right. You have that scale distribution. What you want is you want to get those few people who come out and are like really big advocates, and those people are really loud on Twitter. They move the needle. Then you have to like target your user base accordingly. So if you reward those people and you like then you get your marketing value because even if someone makes $500, $1,000, they're probably going to go on Twitter and be like, sweet, I just got this airdrop. Thanks, and I got from playing this game or whatever it might be. That's what the focus has got to be on, as opposed to trying to just like give everyone participation trophies and be like, oh, everyone gets like $5, $10 now. It doesn't do anything for anyone. So don't focus on that. I love what you said, Paul, as well, which is why I think like soulbound tokens, we really haven't explored what can come from that. And I think that'll be a really interesting thing because as you said, for gamers, they
Totally.
don't necessarily want everything to be tradable, or like if it can be tradable and there's a monetary value on it, then it takes away that sense of achievement that you got by grinding it out. So I think there's a fine balance between like having exclusive skins that can be, very expensive, just like kind of like similar to trading card games where you have like, it's a card that's a playable game, it's also a collectible, and it's got high value. But then you have these things that are that flex, they are that thing that someone did, they worked and put the time in for, and it's not something that someone else can just come in and buy.
Yeah, and it turns out that if you build the other thing where it's like 100,000 people can get $5, all you're doing is incentivizing the bot networks, and it's the same 1,000 people, but now they're just reallocating their bot electricity to that same program and trying to be the one that sweeps up $20,000 worth of that. So it's a lose-lose, actually.
Yeah, but whenever you go back to your VCs, you get that juicy number of how many DAU you have, Paul.
No, you
Very
know what?
real.
Yeah, not anymore, actually. Thankfully. Like they're wisening up, and the Coinbases of the world, like they see through that shit now. It doesn't work the same way it used to anymore.
Oh, let's go, dude. No more 3,000 cash tag a day requirements to get on Binance. You're speaking my language, brother. Jay from Geno Pets says 500 every time whales will whale. So he's taking the smaller option there. Let's tag in Coop, then we'll send it to Knock.
Yeah, it sounds like we're all kind of converging on this idea that we want to reward a small set of people with more money. So I'm looking forward to Jerry saying we should give a million people 10 cents in like 30 seconds. But I also just want to call out that like the concept is still pretty young, and I see a lot of people struggle with this. And like when you really get into it, it's I think more challenging than just talking about rewarding a small group of people, because the bots, the actual players that are going really hard on this thing could be the extractive ones. And so you get into this tricky situation. You're trying to reward this small group of people, but some of them are like the worst people to reward. I still think that's the play. It's just we're young in this space and this concept, and it's going to evolve and be challenging over time.
Great stuff, Coop. I just remembered I've got 3 more Lumitera whitelists burning a hole in my pocket. I'm going to give one out to somebody who retweets us between now and the end of this topic. So if you want to get one, jump on it. Knock, over to you.
Yeah, I think Coop hit on it a little bit here, but one of the biggest things that I've learned over the course of the last 3, 4 years in Web3 is the more surfaces you try to play on in the name of distribution, the more likely you are to just have everything that you're working on crash and burn. It's like when teams are being, we'll launch a multi chain NFT, or our token will be available on every single chain, or we'll launch on 3 different platforms to spread out the distribution. And what happens in every single scenario, almost 100% of the time, is you are not adding eyeballs, you are creating confusion, and that confusion creates friction, and that friction decreases the number of people who actively want to participate within your ecosystem. So when you have teams, to Lems's point, like Block Games, like a lot of the teams that did some form of massively over like socialified experience when it came to their airdrop, what ended up happening was they thought more users participating equals more exposure for the token, equals the token in more hands, equals hopefully more eyeballs on the ecosystem that we've created. What actually happened was you've increased the number of people who can be confused and pissed off about the product that you're building at a stage that you're nowhere near ready to perform or adjust or combat. So what ends up happening is you deliver $1 or $2 to 10,000 people. Everybody gets fucking pissed off because they didn't make any money. Now, instead of having 1,000 people who are slightly upset that you can have conversations with and you can resolve the issue and build something with them, you've got 100,000 people who are pissed off and are calling you a scam because you only gave them $2 for free instead of $100 for free. And I think that it's an important lesson for people in this space. You need to play the game with your core set of users first. Once you build that
And
out, then you have the ability to expand beyond that. And you're seeing this in real time with Pirate Nation. Pirate Nation did this exactly. They focused on their core set of users, the people who came to the game day in, day out. They rewarded those users disproportionately to anybody else within the entire ecosystem. And now you have things like queues to get into the game because those users who feel so deeply rewarded and so deeply indebted to the Pirate Nation team for everything that they did for them have been pounding their chest about how good the game is. Go check it out, go play it, and now you have queues. So you have the exact opposite effect as what we saw earlier in this year when everybody over optimized for the number of people, the number of surface areas. I think it's the biggest fallacy in Web3. I saw it happen with NFTs, and when it came to the number of chains you launched on, then it changed to the number of marketplaces you launched on, then it slowly dripped into tokens. It has literally never worked. We keep reinventing the same shitty fucking wheel. Focus on your core users, reward them disproportionately to anybody else within the ecosystem, build from there.
also, God, that gave me chills. Knock, you're so right. And there's one part I wanted to add that I thought you might mention, which is when you focus on that small group of core users, realize that you don't actually have to worry about accessibility that much for them. Those are not the users where you're like, well, they're only on this one chain, but they're not going to be able to get their liquidity to this other chain. No, no, no. These are power users They don't have any of those. They're already on all the chains. They have all the wallets. Like, you don't have to worry about that for them. And not worrying about that frees up more development time to focus on the things they do care about.
Yeah, I love whenever Knock gets fired up, man. It's always a banger. Sinjin, I'm tagging you in, brother, and then we'll send it to Jerry.
I think the nuance of, can you guys hear me? My Twitter's kind of fucky today.
Yeah, all good, brother.
Good. Yeah, I think the nuances though, it depends on what game you are as well and what kind of like profit model you are. And we don't really talk about that, especially in Web3 because we haven't really gone there. But like if you are a mobile app, I think getting in the hands of as many players as possible. I know there's this, susceptibility for bots and so on and so forth. It might be the bigger play just because if your revenue model needs it to be in the hands of a lot of people and needs to get that awareness, then that needs to happen. But if your model is really about whales, has a huge profit margin, and your cost per acquisition cost ultimately can bear it, then that can be the way forward. But I think again there's a lot of nuance, not one size kind of fits all. And even with Pirate Nation doing like whatever they had done, right? I mean, they basically had just instituted a whole bunch of rules to like dissuade from multi accounting and multi accounts and bots and everything else like that. And now like half the entire user base is like pissed off, and they're kind of like, okay, well you're pissed off, but you're not really legitimate users. But like, is it a great look for them? And they had done everything right. I don't know. There's certain things that you just can't get away from, but I think depending on what kind of game you are, I think that makes a big difference as well.
Great stuff, Sinjin. Jerry, tagging you in.
Yeah, Knock really, really stole my exact talking point, and I was going to hype up Pirate Nation yet again on this space. But I will say, with one caveat to what Knock said about Pirate Nation is they gave everybody the chance to become a Pirate Nation power user, right? There was never a moment where you were frozen out. I didn't even have a Founders Pirate when I like started playing the game. I just got a free one from I might have been from Wildcard. It was a long time ago, but I got a free one, and I started playing the game, I started liking it, started seeing some things. Then I made some purchases, but people made a lot of money without ever actually spending money on that game because they gave everybody the chance to become a power user of that game. And I think that's what the model that people really miss out on now is they go, these teams decide like, oh, well, we minted NFTs and they might be worth a grand or 2 grand, so those are the people that we need to reward. I really like that Pirate Nation said fuck all that. A free to play user can be competitive in this same sort of like farming environment, right? uh, I know I've been a little bit of a boomer today, and I'm going to continue to be one here because I don't give a fuck about what these people think. But when everybody gets a participation award, it cheapens the trophy, for the number 1 and 2 and 3 guy, right? And that's just a fact of life. And I think that's where we see the model of everybody getting rewards really hurts because you end up getting, $5 or $10, and it's cool. I really like coffee, but it's not that much of a difference to me to spend my time on it, right? So um, that said, I think both models are probably not the long term answer. I'm really interested in. I think it was Lems who talked about like soulbound tokens playing a part in that. But I think anybody looking at like the current landscape of how do I use these tokens and these ERC20s to acquire users, you really shouldn't be looking at either of those models. You should be taking what a team like Pirate Nation did and building off of that.
Jerry's auditioning for CNBC and Fox News panelists next, just trying to get as many talking points in as he can. Knock over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think whichever approach ultimately ends up being the best path forward, I think Sinjin and Jerry bring up good points that there are plenty of alternative paths that are just as relevant and valid. I think one thing will always remain true. As a team building a product, whether that be the token, the game, your social community, whatever it might be, you have a finite amount of resources. In the case of a token, it's the number of individual tokens that you can give away to airdrop people who are participating within the airdrop. In the terms of like a social community that you've built, it's the amount of like human hours, man hours that you can allocate to crafting and fostering that community. And the same is true for building a game. What ends up happening a lot of the times in this space is that teams take an already finite resource and spread it so thin in the name of distribution that they are effective nowhere. So, regardless of what the best path forward is for you and your team, you should double down on the path that you choose and not try to play for like contingency plans. To Sinjin's point, everybody has different path forwards. Everybody has different objectives. But if you don't double down on that objective, you're going to spread yourself thin. You're going to execute poorly on all fronts, and you're going to look like an idiot. And we know that this is true because we've seen it happen time and time again. The teams that focus on one or two core competencies over index on the amount of support that they give those two core competencies almost always outperform teams who try to do everything all at once. And I think, regardless of what the strategy is long term, to me, I don't see that changing. You need to focus in on what you've decided the path forward is. Course correct if need be, but if you're not giving it everything that you've got, you're probably not going to be as successful as you want to.
Great stuff, Knock. Bunch of people giving you love in the comments for your previous take and also for this one. Elisa, I'm tagging you in for the last word on this one.
Yeah, I think this is a truly fascinating topic. At 44 Labs, we're actually, like pretty deep in this, trying to help teams navigate it as best as we can. I'd say, like, honestly, one really interesting thing is like looking at comms and how teams have communicated around this. Pirate Nation has been brought up a lot, so I'll use Pirate Nation as an example. They actually don't communicate any details. Like, they've basically kept everything as vague and ambiguous as they can. And I'm assuming that's, because it gives them flexibility and just like more room to like change things and control outcomes where they can. But that being said, Pirate Nation are still very open where they can with the community. So yeah, I found that really, really interesting because that's really not easy to navigate. I think the part where, like, Pirate Nation stands out is because they've been around for a very long time. So they've had time to build that trust. Not every team that's in Web3 has that. So yeah, like some clients we're helping, like they don't have that, right? Or like they've been around for a long time, but they may not have been like they may not have had the brand awareness. So how do you build that trust? Well, what our take is, like, okay, just be as open as you can. So let people know, as much as possible regarding like the play to airdrop. And yeah, I'm definitely I'm definitely in agreement that rewarding less players is better. At the end of the day, what is a play to airdrop? It's a game of just getting as much awareness as you can and trying to retain as many real community members as you can. Like ultimately that's the goal, right? Building that core community, and it's kind of like a way to speed run it. Um and yeah, it builds a cult following, as we've seen with successful play to airdrops. Pixels, Pirate Nation, like they have managed to retain a core audience, and that is crucial. Because that core audience then, helps to onboard more people. Like it's crazy, the power that this has if done well. But yeah, it's pretty freaking stressful. And like it's really hard to execute, like harder than most people realize, I think. And yeah, like on the team side, even just like one small hiccup, as simple as like, oh, a claim is not working, like it's over. It's fucking over. So yeah, it's definitely very interesting. And yeah, just respect to all the builders, to be honest. It's not easy.
Yeah, that's for sure. Especially building a game is hard enough. Building a Web3 game is another level of difficulty. Cade Bergman is going to win for retweeting the space, the next Lumitera whitelist. I still have two more guys. Cade, thanks so much for the retweet, brother. Also, Chandler Tomlinson, excuse me, the creator of Sparkball, which I've been playing an incessant amount of lately, says, curious on everyone's take. If I know I'll never be able to compete to break the top 5,000 or so, what's my motivation for participating at all? Can obviously add other unlocks and rewards outside of allocation, but it feels awkward to slap points as users in people's faces, knowing that it will be useless for 95% of users. I think in this case, maybe the top 5,000 would be like holders, or I guess this could be competitive. I don't think we were discussing it necessarily with the parameters of only the top 5,000 earners. There's definitely a lot of nuance in the way that you could accomplish this kind of thing. Wild Paul hitting it with the 100 emoji. I said that was going to be the last word, but I do love a good run on discussion when people raise their hand and want to reply to things. So let's tag in Coop and then we'll go to Lems.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment because Eliza brought up like transparency and how Pirate Nation doesn't have a lot and it's actually going well for them. And I think we've had a scenario that went poorly for Avalanche around a meme coin initiative where we were almost a little too transparent. We gave guidelines for like what they'd be buying, we gave an amount, and people were just essentially not happy with the result. But then to follow up on that, we did something that was totally not transparent and rewarded people, and they were pleasantly surprised. And so I feel like it's hard to pleasantly surprise people when you tell them exactly what you're going to do. um, so I think that it's just a counterpoint, and I don't have the full answer because I also like transparency and feel like it should be the right way. But then when you get to it, people are like set in their expectations, and it's really a challenge.
Yeah, that's exactly why whenever I'm advising people, I just go, Sparksy, you tell me how people will take this because I'm right there with you where I also feel like there should be transparency and stuff, but I need that degenerate person to just be like, no, 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 you don't understand, man. People are gonna hate that because X, Y, or Z. Lems, I'm trying to bring you back up on stage. He fell off, and I know he wanted to get a point in, but Twitter is down bad. You might have to close out the app and come back, buddy, because it's not letting me pull you back up. Unfortunately, we're going to have to move on because I don't want to stall the show while we figure out what's going on there. The next topic is one of the title topics of the day, actually. Change my mind. Has the death of royalties from secondary trading killed gaming NFTs in the same way that it's killed a lot of other PFP and other type of intellectual property driven NFTs? If NFTs have uh, zero net value accrual for game developers because once they've been minted and sold, what incentive is there for them to continue building with these NFTs in mind? In traditional gaming, you obviously have a lot of live ops, DLCs, skins, and other forms of monetization. But in Web3, sometimes that can be dilutive or people want it for free because they have the NFT. So with this new reality that we're in, where basically secondary royalties essentially don't exist, or if they do, it's very small compared to what we thought it might be in like 2021. What incentive do developers have to actually drive the value of NFTs if not for secondary royalties? Let's tag in Elisa first on this one.
I'm gonna apologize to Sam because I'm kind of gonna like not answer this question and say what I think has killed gaming NFTs. But I okay, this take it hasn't even come from me. It's come from a close friend of mine, and I'm gonna put someone like literally on fire right now. But yeah, a certain company raised millions of dollars selling gaming NFTs. And basically the way my friend put it was, oh, like this is literally liquidity leaving gaming NFTs. Like when you do so many mints like that, where like the mint price is 0.6, etc. I'm not going to do the math right now. It's not my forte, but it basically means that there's that much liquidity that's now missing from the market. And like, yeah, I think if someone was actually to look at the timeline of like when gaming NFTs dried up, I think this assessment is actually correct. So yeah, paid mints, like a lot of paid mints in a row are definitely a big danger to gaming NFTs, and it's probably why it dried up.
Yeah, that definitely is part of the equation there. Jack is back with his NFTs as well, or not his NFTs, his comics representing the space. I pinned it up. Thanks, Jack, for doing that. Appreciate you, man. And then one housekeeping item for these Lumitera whitelists. I just want to let people know I have to submit the list of wallets of Ronin wallet addresses tonight. And so if you aren't able to get it to me tonight, I'm so sorry, but that's the deadline that they've given me. So it has to come tonight, or else you're not going to be on the list. I'm so sorry, guys. So Lems is going to be reaching out to you, and if your DMs are closed, that means he's going to like tag you in a comment or whatever. So if you've won a whitelist, or if you win one of the next two that we're giving out, please reach out to him. I definitely want to make sure everybody that won one is able to actually use it. Paul Bettner had the hand up next. Change my mind. The death of secondary royalties has also killed gaming NFTs.
Okay, I'm going to change your mind, Sam. I'm going to try. Um, listen, I love the way you framed this actually originally. Uh, NFTs, at least as we've come to understand what they were in the last generation, which are basically digital assets where the only real utility that ended up showing up was speculation. Like, I don't know that any of us, or there's so few collections where we could point back to them and say, no, 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 the reason I own that thing right now, the reason I still care about that NFT is because, and plug in any other reason literally other than because I'd let me sell it for more money and because I was speculating on it. Those NFTs are dead. They were always dead, by the way. We were just playing a game of musical chairs with each other, but they were always dead. But this a concept that therefore gaming NFTs are dead is ridiculous because like if you put speculation aside, the core concept of an NFT is representing digital ownership, tokenized digital ownership on a blockchain. If that thing that you own is something you care about for some other and literally any other reason than speculation, like for instance, it gives you a skin in a game that you love, and that's the reason you care about it. That's not dead at all. That's a wonderful thing. Like that core like function of NFTs as representing digital ownership in a decentralized way. Like that's not dead at all. We just need those products to show up where there are things in them that we care about beyond just speculating on that digital ownership just for speculation purposes. And those products are coming. There was, it's just a little bit of alpha here, I guess. Sorry, Kate. Oh, you heard Katie yelling at me that. No, I'm gonna. It's just let me. It's gentle, guys. It's gentle. Here we go. Yeah, she's like Sam is setting you up. He just keeps doing this. So somebody was asking about the Wild Pass, which is a great example of this because it's an NFT we released a while ago, and there is this meme. Oh shit, she's in the room now. Give me this face. There's this meme that Katie and I both posted, and I think several people, which said it was something like, "I'm sorry that things are taking a little bit longer than I'd hoped, but we're trying to do it the right way, and it's hard and it takes longer." And it turns out that delivering on the value of NFTs in a big product like Wildcard and in a well built, regulatorily correct crypto platform environment protocol token etc is really hard. Like there's a lot of projects that didn't do the hard things, that did the shortcuts, and that's probably because they were going to like vanish anyway. Like they were never planning to stick around, do I don't know the reasons, but if you're somebody who's trying to build these things and you have this like reputation where you're not going to be able to just disappear, like for me, like I mean I want to make games the rest of my life. I can't launch a crypto product that ends up being a rug and ruins my ability to make more games after this. Like that was never an option. It was never on the table. And it turns out building those things, like building the connection between, for instance, a centralized game that's being built by a company like Wildcard, together with a decentralized, crypto economy, token protocol, etc. Doing that right is really, really hard. And there's an insane amount of limitations around the types of things that even if I wanted to, and let's say that there was some additional utility coming for the Wild Pass, that NFT I mentioned, that had to do with things outside of the centralized product that we're building, and we're like decentralized utility, I'm not even allowed to talk about that stuff because I'm the CEO of the centralized company. So it's extremely hard and challenging to navigate, and I'm really, proud of the teams and companies that have done this. But uh, you know, thank you for that patience, uh, because it will be worthwhile. And at the end of the day, to answer your root question, Sam, that core utility, that core value of NFTs, as number one, from the developer's perspective, it lets us sell. Like, sure, secondary royalties are great, but they're really great when you think about these things as speculative assets. If what you're actually doing is selling a core asset that's valuable, like a skin, a rare skin to somebody, we were only ever expecting to make money on that initial sale anyway, right? Like the secondary thing is like insane icing on the cake that like sure, and it drove an intense speculative market, but really for product developers, capturing the value of that primary sale and then being able to deliver an asset on a blockchain that someone can own forever, like that's enough. And those are not dead at all. In fact, they're going to reinvent and bring NFTs back to the forefront when those products start coming out that we care about.
Damn, I hope you are right, Mr. Wild Paul. I will just say, as much as I do believe that you are in that camp, I don't think everybody is in that camp of only believing they'll ever get one-time sales. So, for better or for worse, I'm not sure if that represents the holisticness, but I will say it's why I love, Wild Paul and Wild Card, et cetera, et cetera. Let's tag in Sinjin, then we're gonna tag in Gwei after that.
I think if you were depending upon, NFTs and the royalties from NFTs as a game as your main revenue source, you were already like the Walking Dead, right? I mean, that's basically, to Paul's point, like I'm in agreement with that. Um, you know, and the crazy shit is like if we had to have this like discussion about the airdrop thing like 4 months ago, I would say like 99% of the people on the panel or in the universe would have said the opposite. It was distribute as much as possible, get as much whatever like this. And it's not the knock on the panel or anything like that. It's to say that like, you know, what the NFTs are dependent upon and why will never die is like if it's really dependent upon the utility within the game itself, right? The value there, and then how does that value accrue to the user, and then how is the platform or the game itself, receiving the revenue from the usage of that NFT that gets reinvested to make a game that's a forever game, right? In the sense that that NFT adds to the actual revenue process that allows for the expansion of this game, and as it expands, the utility of the NFT expands as well within the game, not just simply as an asset that's a consumer asset, consumable, but rather something that builds with the game itself as a structural component, where you're not just owning a weapon, but you're owning you know part of the game, and that's what we need to really be looking at. And so, like, this entire speculative stuff and stuff like that, I think it definitely has a time and a place. And you're in Web3, you're going to play that game for the attention, absolutely. But if you were just depending upon it, like, for the royalties, and that was your fucking plan, right? And then maybe some skins and emotes to, like, add in for more revenue, like, you fucking totally missed the point of why we're in the space. And the key thing I want to say is that that had to be understood 2 years ago when you were developing the fucking game in the first place. So all these other fucks who are here and they're like, I'm a game developer now because I understand what play to earn is, and I'm gonna make it slightly better, or I'm gonna use some different IP on it. Go fuck yourselves. Fuck your NFTs. You were never even fucking gaming NFTs or gaming companies anyway. So fuck off. I'm glad. And like, whoever is left remaining, we just need one to really set the standard and make it all happen. So that's it.
Sinjin, the man himself. All right, Gwei, over to you, brother.
I think a lot of the stuff to say, like, what Paul's vision is.
Oh, sorry, Wei. I think you're robotic. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go to the next panelist. I'll double back to you in just 30 seconds, and I think it'll be a little bit better. Let's tag in Jerry next.
Yeah, so I used to work for a game, and one time I did a little napkin math, and I would challenge everybody to go do this. Pick a random project that's minted recently, and go look at what like 5 or 7.5% of royalties would get most projects, right? And the flat out truth is 95% of NFT projects out there didn't make much from royalties, right? I think when I did the napkin math for like the project I was involved with, it was like the whole time that we had that collection out, it was like 2 months of like one environmental artist's salary, right? So it was pretty fucking insignificant. And so I think, yeah, any project that was saying like, oh, NFTs are going to sustain us, and the trading of NFTs is going to be a major revenue source. Like, if you weren't like a Pudgies or a Yuga, your NFT royalties were minimal at best, right? So I think that can't be the thing that we look at and say this killed NFTs. I think what killed NFTs for most of us is they lost their profitability, right? We couldn't just mint something for $300, mint a gold version of whatever it was, and instantly sell it for $3,000, right? Um,
Yeah, which is another way of saying they lost their only utility they ever
yeah,
had, which was speculative trade.
exactly. Yeah, and Paul nailed that on that part. All they had, most projects only had speculative value. Now there are a ton of people up here, and the people that are up here are definitely in this camp of people who are building for them to have long-term sustainable value. But it's like anything, and like we talk about a lot, that's going to be a product-driven influence on the prices of those NFTs, and until the products are there, they're gonna stay where they're at, as NFTs. But once the wild cards and the Meijis and all the AI arenas come out, I think you see a very different landscape for where NFTs will be. And I think the next year or two for gaming NFTs actually are pretty promising if you're in and you're paying attention now and you're taking concentrated bets. But yeah, I mean, I think to say that royalties killing NFTs, it's a great question. But if anybody's up here and is like, oh man, I got to fold my company because I wasn't getting royalties, you were at best getting like a few hundred to a few $1,000s a month anyway. That's not what killed your project. It was your decision making or not raising enough funds or not delivering in time is what killed these projects.
All right, let's tag Wei in again. See if we can get him clear this time.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was just gonna say, a lot of points have already been made. I think one way to think about it is, if the only value is speculative, then it means that it doesn't matter if your kind of the cosmetic appearance of your NFT is unique. It's still fungible. It's fungible from the perspective that it's replaceable by all the other projects that are coming up, right? So we live in a system where there's zero marginal cost to creating a new collection that's predicated on speculative value. So we're living in a world where everything is massively dilutive because it's always going to be PvP in this space, particularly because there's a financial incentive embedded in making functions. So in that environment, I think this goes back to Paul and Sidger's point, like NFT has to have some other utility. And as we've always said, like, one element of that, one dimension of that is is this something that's like productive in the ecosystem that you're building, right? Can you inject value into what you hold so that it's demonstrably better than what other people have? So that's kind of the central exploration of what we're trying to do with our NFTs, and we've always held that thesis. And then the final word there is just like I don't know if one of the premise of the question is, if you think about like the revenue model of banking on secondary liquidity for NFTs is predicated on one, volumes of trading, right, and the other is like people actually honoring and paying the royalties. I think both of them are under question at the current moment. But I think ironically, when we look at our collection, I haven't really done the actual data analysis, but I would submit a guess that 80 to 90% of the time when our NFTs actually transact, like people honor the royalties and we charge 8% on them. And it's because like we never use that as a way to drive like top line revenue growth as the business model. And at the end of the day, I don't know, it just may be like a reflection of like, that wasn't the intention in the first place, but when people kind of decide to exit, they still are social the asset in the first place. But anyway, just wanted to add that as an additional dimension to it.
Yeah, it was great stuff, man. I mean, you can see why I bring the people that I do to this show whenever you hear their thesis and the way that they approach the space and how it differs from some of the bad actors that we've been unfortunate to have, but all spaces do. Let's go to Knock and then we'll tag in Wild Paul.
Okay, bear with me here because I was on the front lines of this whole royalty thing in October 2022, and I'm probably going to take that trauma to the grave. So I think that there's maybe a little bit of a history lesson that is required before I can dive into whether or not gaming NFTs are dead here. The concept of royalties in NFTs, particularly on Solana and Ethereum, was up until 2022 when Yaw decided to kind of go against the grain, was a social contract. Royalties were not enforceable on the blockchain. They were enforceable on the front end of marketplace experiences. So places like Solinar and Magic Eden and OpenSea and a number of other marketplaces were honoring what was written into the blockchain back in 2021 and 2022, but was not necessarily enforceable through the blockchain. So a lot of the royalties that were paid out in the first era of NFTs were royalties that were paid due to a social contract that we all just sort of agreed upon. As a user, you said, hey, royalties are actually a net benefit for me because it kind of artificially inflates the price of my asset, and it feels better to sell a $100 asset than it does to sell an $80 asset. Even if I'm making the same amount of money, it still feels better. So on the user side, that was their hand of part of the social contract. They agreed to it. On the marketplace side, yeah, bigger sales, you get to take a larger fee. Of course, that was something that was agreed upon. And on the side of the developers and the people that were issuing these NFTs, of course, you wanted the social contract to be upheld because you were earning boatloads of money. Yaw comes in and says, hey, we realize that this is kind of like a social contract, and instead of honoring it, we're going to use this as a competitive edge to capture market share. And what ended up happening was on Solana particularly, Yaw exploded almost overnight. Every user, everybody that had an NFT immediately started listing on Yaw to try and sell those assets at a higher cost without actually having to pay royalties. And we saw this massive shift from royalty enforcing marketplaces into marketplaces like Yaw. From there, a bunch of other marketplaces came out and decided that they were going to do similar things. And long story short, Magic Eden, a bunch of other teams, OpenSea with their most recent version of what they've done with Seaport, as well as a bunch of other teams in the space, Gabe Layden and his crew created on chain enforceable royalties. Now we have an option, a potentiality to enforce royalties at a smart contract level. And what we saw was everybody went, this is great. We can enforce royalties. NFTs are going to do well again. And then when it came time for developers and the people issuing NFTs to be, yeah, let's enforce our royalties, they realized that's not what consumers want. The genie was out of the bottle and it wasn't going back in. And most teams abandoned the idea of smart contract enforced royalties. Now, what you have today is a 50-50 solution. Some royalties are being enforced, some aren't being enforced, but even if it's enforced on the blockchain level, it's sort of gone back to this social contract. In the case of Wei and his team, people honor Wei, they honor what he's building, they'll pay royalties. In the case of a team that's pissed off their community, I'm not going to pay royalties. Depending on the varying degrees of loyalty that an individual consumer has, they might agree to pay royalties or find a different way to go about it. Royalties never really existed until they did, and when they did, nobody really gave a shit because the genie was out of the bottle. So, with all of that said, I think it's a little bit of revisionist history to go back and say teams who thought that they were going to make revenue off of royalties didn't really have a plan and are probably all dead. Because what happened in the very early days of gaming NFTs was you had teams like Honeyland, like Genopets, like Parallel, who made boatloads of money off of the royalties of their NFT collections, were able to raise boatloads of money off the backs of the fact that they proved and they showed and they went to market with a business that made 5, 10, 15, 20 million dollars through NFTs and royalty sales. And it created a massive avalanche in the amount of funding that teams downstream were able to capture and removed a lot of the barriers to capturing that money from VCs because you had teams who paved the way, make life a little bit easier for the next batch of teams to come. So I think royalties were incredibly important to gaming NFTs. They are dead in the capacity that you'll never see a team like Parallel come out, who was a scrappy team with a bunch of people who deeply understood the Web3 ecosystem, made 10 or 15 million dollars off of the royalties of their collection, raised 50 million dollars off of the backs of that. You'll never see that happen again, and I think that that's inarguable. But the idea that royalties didn't matter is absurd to me because it absolutely did. And the idea that it was ever really an enforceable thing is also crazy because it wasn't until really 2023, the end of it, and into the new year 2024 when you see OpenSea with things like Seaport 1.6. So I know that that was like really overly technical, but the royalty enforcement topic is so much more detailed than people want to give it credit for. And I think ignoring the fact that it played a massive part in allowing teams to capture funding is ridiculous. And pretending that it was ever completely enforceable on chain until marketplaces like Magic Eden or OpenSea decided to go optional is ridiculous, right? These two things are not both, they don't need to both be true, or sorry, they're both true, right? These things happen because we didn't actually enforce royalties on chain. Teams did make a bunch of money off of them. It'll always play an important part of the history of NFTs, but it's forever changed now. Genie's out of the bottle. It's never going back in. You'll never see a success story like the teams from the early days of 2021 and earlier because royalties are no longer enforced or respected the way that they were then.
Man, awesome to hear from somebody, as you put it, who is on the front lines. Couple of quick housekeeping items before we keep going through the hands. Moglin.eth is going to get the fourth Lumitera whitelist that we have for the day. Reminder that you need to get that whitelist or your wallet, the Ronin wallet, over to Lems as soon as possible so we can make sure that we get you in there. And then also, I just wanted to say we're going to have the MVP voting coming up in just a second. I'm going to give the last one of the day to somebody who tells us your MVP in the comments. So if you want to start dropping that, you can help us contribute to the voting because it's been a stacked panel. Absolutely amazing takes from every single person that's been up here. It's been a great episode. Wild Paul, tagging you in.
Oh, my comments just kind of a love fest. You all don't even know how much I love you, how much I have benefited from this panel. And like Sam, you mentioned this. Like I know the work you do behind the scenes to vet the people that you bring on stage to keep the quality level of this show high. And the end result, I can't speak as just an audience member who just gets to sit and listen to these brilliant people. I'm a fellow developer. I'm a colleague building stuff like most of the people are on this panel. And from my perspective, man, I missed you guys. I miss being here. I miss hearing this insane wisdom. I mean, look at what just happened. Like, well, first of all, I mostly miss Jerry, just so we get that out of the way. But like, we start with Sinjin like saying all the things that I wish I could say. And this has been true now for like a year of joining panels with Sinjin. Like he's always just saying the things that I'm biting my tongue, going like, "Oh, I really want to say that," and then Sinjin just says it, and I just like 100% it a million times. And then Wei like gives me this thing that I'm gonna like mention in every meeting, every discussion I have now going forward, which is like, yeah, actually, the problem with NFTs prior to now is that they weren't NFTs. They were just FTs. They like when one token's actual utility is the same as another NFT's actual utility, which is just speculation, and people are pretending to care about the art or whatever, but really it's just about the speculation value. Of course that goes to of course you end up with a situation where, and then to finalize with Knock giving us the history lesson of this, of course you end up with a situation where it wasn't ever even really about whether you could enforce those royalties or not. At the root of it, it was about whether people actually gave a shit about that unique digital item or not. If it was never something they cared about as a unique item and really its utility was identical to other speculative things, then yeah, it was never about enforcing royalties or not enforcing royalties. It was literally just about that. And so yeah, if we see a generation of actual NFTs where the non fungible part is the important part and people care about those unique items because of what they are, then yeah, then let's have that conversation then, see what happens then. I love y'all.
Love you too, man. Thank you so much. And I can say, I really, really, really do miss the days of whenever NFT rarity and uniqueness and like what number it was and the art, we actually thought at least that it mattered at the time. Like it was so exciting.
Yeah, but we got to shout out Sinjin because even back then he was calling total bullshit on all
A
that stuff
thousand
for all
percent.
of us every episode.
Perfect segue. Sinjin, over to you, brother.
Yeah, I just want to say that, yeah, as well, I have such appreciation for this panel as, getting to hang out with Paul and, Jerry and Lems and, Wei and Coop being on here. He's always, one of the guys I really like retweeting on the timeline because he's so balanced and stuff. And of course, Sam and Knock, if it wasn't for Knock, I would just have been hating on everybody, and I probably would have been a mass serial killer at the conference instead of saying, well, just start smashing people right away and like, you dirty, worthless JPEG wannabe zero utility producer. And the thing that I learned was really about the function of attention and speculation and the time and the place for it. And so I want to say though, at the time and the place, the utility really was, and to some degree still is, speculation. The issue I've always had was that as much affirmation you get from the speculation and the numbers and the money, even, it doesn't push you towards that elegant solution, um, to make a beautiful game that could be forever. That creates and looks at the NFT as, something more than just a digital sword that now you kind of own, which I think has always been a really weak, stupid argument because it's one of those like kind of 1.5x kind of innovations on something that's totally different. It's like the equivalent of like, oh, here's a phone book, and now the fucking phone book's on the internet, and now like you can search the phone. There's this fucking radio on the internet, right? Shout out to Silicon Valley. Um, but I think it's always been about, you know, what are we really looking for? And in a lot of ways, when you buy a skin or when I buy a skin in a certain game like Dota 2 or whatever like that, it's not necessarily because I'm going to use that skin. I have so many fucking skins on Dota 2. Like I'm not going to like cycle through them all or whatever like that. But it's because I love the game. I want to support the game. And I think fundamentally as gamers, we'll do that. And so to Nox's point, for me, royalties has always been like that. It's like kind of like whoever's paying royalties, like they appreciate us, they love us, they want us to succeed. And if we have that little bit of extra revenue, it's almost like a sign of approval. We switched our new collection to 721C. And the reason we did that was because like if the game is successful or when the game is successful, I don't want people undercutting that success by, not paying royalties when other people are and just kind of like benefiting from the growth. Fuck those speculators at that point. Right. But I think for the attention and what it did to kickstart the industry, definitely. And and I think the biggest thing was, and the biggest change was for NFTs and royalties, though, and I'll say this on a more utility level, was it exploded in terms of creation and stuff like that, because digital artists were the lowest of the lowest of the lowest on the totem pole, right? If you're talking about like in the creation of games and art and like digital create, like there were a dime a dozen, just like with the hands with the bowls out there and whatever like that. And NFTs totally changed that. Like trying to get an artist during that time was hell. And suddenly, it gave something. And I think the biggest loss was when that royalties went away, like legitimate artists who were suddenly looking at it like, now this is not just zeros and ones, but this is something that like can really be art online, and shared, and yet still like be, non-fungible. We kind of lost a little bit of that, and we kind of lost a little bit of the love that comes with that royalty. So I'm a big, you know, supporter of 21C. And Gabe and Gabe doing that, and people saying, "Well, what the fuck is Gabe doing? He's not really working on a game." But he worked on something that was a fundamental part of like what the real infrastructure was, not like onboarding and like whatever hidden abstracted fucking wallets and shit like this. It's all fucking good, right? But that's not what the real fucking infrastructure is. The real fucking infrastructure is the infrastructure of what will allow a game to continue to, have revenue and be part of like a system that people can show love, and that love is really reflected in the game.
Man, I know I didn't want to let this run as long as it did, but it was just awesome vibes and great to hear sort of a verbal history of what we've been through. Again, it's just kind of surreal thinking about the last few years here. Lems, I'm going to give you a quick final word on this one. Then we're going to do our MVP voting for the episode and wrap this bad boy up.
All right, I'll try to be fairly concise, but I might have a little bit of a ramble on here because I think the whole royalty debate is really interesting, and it definitely didn't isn't the thing that killed it. I would agree with most of what Knox said, but I would push back a little bit because I think there was this like facade where the users in the space actually thought royalties were enforceable and on chain. And this was like this sudden, like you said, the genie was out of the bottle. Like that is truly what's happened now because people realized it actually wasn't, and it was this social contract. But I think it was also all like a matter of timing. That's when the bubble popped, and all of a sudden like the profits and how much you were making became really important because things were starting to fall apart. The bubble was popping, NFTs were starting to go down in price. When you were in this bull market euphoria and prices were just going up every single day, paying 10% didn't really matter that much to you. And again, that's where I think the percentages creeped up over time too. They were like 5% kind of at the start like of the last bull, and then by the end of the bull sometimes it was like 10, 12.5%. Then OpenSea another 2.5% on top of that. It just got crazy where people were like, okay, I'm actually losing so much profit on this. And then as prices were going down, people needed to figure out. But I will say, hey guys, we're in this brand new space. And if people, just give up that easily, it's like, where's the innovation? Like we're supposed to be innovating. We're in this brand new space. Try and figure out a new way around it. Think about a new way to monetize. But yeah, you shouldn't have all your eggs in one basket of, hey, I just need to make money off royalty. It should be a revenue source. But anyone with, half a brain who is like paying attention should have realized like, hey, this is a good chance this euphoria won't last forever. Like, I remember listening to something from Luca from Pudgies when he was saying how the first year when he bought the company, they did like $7 million in royalties, but he saw, the end coming. He didn't think it was going to come as fast as it did when it came, but he was like, we need to start making money and make products that we can get revenue from other sources. These royalties are great to keep the business going right now. So that's what people really should be thinking about is like, how can you, innovate and have a new way to generate some revenue from this in a different way from royalties. But like as Knox said, the genie's out of the bottle in one sense, but I think we can find new ways. Like I'll shout out Sugartown when they did their mint. They went totally against the grain. They did a 10K mint and they kept 4K in their treasury. Now all of a sudden they have this like tool that they can use for giveaways. They're incentivized to drive value to the NFTs because the more value they have in the NFTs, the more value their giveaways are, which means it's like more marketing value. So you just have to really think outside the box. We're in this innovative space. I don't think royalties are dead. I think they'll actually be back in some form again. Maybe not the same way we saw them before, but I think they will be back. And a lot of it is also just to do with market timing. The NFTs have not come back to where they were in 2021, but we will see as then maybe when we get some rate cuts and there's more money sloshing around and the bull actually really kicks off again, and we'll start seeing an actual innovation because I think it's a neat revenue source, like to be able to get money back when you're actually generating sales. But hey, we definitely need to figure out a better way to do it and not have someone just, taking a big chunk of like 10 or 15% for, some teams weren't doing a lot, some teams were. That was another like hot topic as well. Is like, hey, some teams were just like pumping things out and making a ton of money on the royalties and not even actually using that money to drive value to the NFTs or their company as a whole.
The only thing I'll add to that is I'm just not a big fan of the way it works right now, where it's like, how much do you want to give to the team and treating them like they're charity cases? It's super weird to me to take these NFT projects that raise like $40 million and be like, oh, you should give them 5%. Don't you agree? Like, just set the fucking standard and let me either, choose to sell it or not sell it. But asking me to donate like it's a barista at a coffee shop is a fucking bizarre experience. I just
Or when
wanted
you're
to
trying to check out at the grocery store
And when
and they're like, hey, do you want to
when are
donate
we
to
getting the
charity?
tipping? When are we getting the tipping button on Gamified?
Any day now, buddy. Anybody else in the comments? We got a bunch of people already voting for MVP. Get it in while we do our voting. I don't want to sway the panel here, so I'm going to let people go before I read off who the people in the comments think it should be. But I have one more Lumitera whitelist to give out. Mr. Wild Paul, I'm sending it to you. Who's your MVP of the episode?
This is probably one of the hardest MVPs I've ever done, but for that reason, I'm giving it to Jerry.
Ooh, the Jer Bear gets number one. Jerry, who's your pick for MVP, brother?
I really wanted to say Knock, but I think he hard disagreed with me in the last one. So I can't vote for that. So I'm going to go with Big Wills, man. I think it's dope. I think Wills is a little younger than the rest of us. And congrats on the new apartment, dude.
Yeah, Wills seems to hang every single week too, which you love to see. Wills, who's your MVP of the episode?
Oh well, after getting that from Jerry, I would love to give it to him, but I'm pretty sure I disagreed with him, so he wouldn't want that. So for his sake, I'm gonna give it to Knock. Usually we get one banger rant out of Knock every week, but this week it was just back to back.
I love it. Knock, who's your pick for MVP, brother?
I'm going to give it to Eliza because on one of her questions, she started with, I'm not going to answer your question. And I think that that is a true sign of a gamified panelist. So, welcome to the family. That was the best way to enter.
Return the
Amazing.
panel to the people.
Also Eliza inspired many of our rants and other things. Like she was the one that dropped the OG comment that then triggered the longer conversations in pretty much all cases.
That is a real MVP move to be able to say something that spurs further discussion. Eliza, who's your pick for MVP today?
Thanks, guys. And I was actually gonna say Nok because I personally love history lessons. And yeah, I found the royalty stuff really interesting. Like they're things I never knew and never thought of, and yeah, very thought provoking. That's why I've been pretty silent. I've just been learning, thinking and learning. So thanks, guys.
Just soaking it up. You love to hear it. Great stuff today, Eliza. It's been awesome having you. Gway, I'm tagging you in. Who's your MVP of the episode, brother?
Yeah, I have to go with Knock. I'm not just saying it to follow on other votes. I just have tremendous respect for just the intellectual horsepower this guy has. I mean, everything's coming out it feels like it's off the dome
Yeah.
freestyling, but it's just so impactful, impressive.
It's not physical horsepower, though. We learned that earlier with his broken 29-year-old body.
No, I met him. I met him in real life too. I mean, I think he's been humble.
Intellectual horsepower is going in every intro until the end of time. I can't wait for that. Sinjin, I'm tagging you in. Who's your MVP of the episode, brother?
The default MVP is always Paul. I just love to hear him speak, and he just genuinely loves the space. And when he does, um, it just gives that full spectrum of everything. I mean, his experience is unparalleled in the industry on every level. I mean, it's a real honor to share the panel with him whenever he's here, and he really appreciates the time. And Knock, I love Knock, and everyone's a fucking Knock nut hugger, and I hate that. But for today, I'd give it to Knock, very grudgingly so, just because I think he's very consistent on it, and I think he doesn't misrepresent what he's doing as well. And I think because he's so authentic, just like Paul is, these two, they always get my default vote all day, all night. But Jerry, Jerry's always kicking it, man. You never can count Jerry out. He punches way above his weight class, and I love that about Jerry. But today, I will be a knock hugger as well.
That is just a ridiculous statement. Coop and Dub had to leave us a little bit early because they have some chaos going on their end. So, oh, is Dub still here?
Wow. Okay, Sam. Jesus. Well, first of all, I wanted to point out that I would never vote for Jerry as MVP, but I love you, Jerry. And I'm gonna give it to Eliza because she dropped some banger freaking takes and well deserved. So GG's.
Great stuff. You love to hear it. Thanks, Dub, for sticking around. Appreciate you, man. Okay, so we have two MVPs here. We've got Knock with
Hold on,
4 votes.
hold on. You missed this guy.
Oh,
What's up
Lambs.
with that?
Okay, Jesus.
Just leaving me out in the rain here.
Oh,
Jeez.
tiebreaker, tiebreaker.
So I was going to say this is probably like I think someone mentioned one of the hardest episodes. Like it had killer takes across the board. But yeah, shout out Eliza. Like yeah, a little quieter in the second half, but man, your first half was heated. So many takes, killed it, Eliza.
Eliza with 3 votes, Knock with 4, and then the people's champ, Jerry, living up to the name in the comments. J3 said the whole panel is great, but TGI Fresco is in the zone tonight, the true MVP. Jaxie said MVP, super hard call, but Fresco wins. He's been shutting it down for a couple of weeks. Let's fucking go, Jerry. AE says, been voting for TGI Fresco since the beginning of the show. Will keep my vote for him to be the MVP of this episode. Make Jerry the MVP or I'll FUD. So I can't go against that. We're going to make him the people's champ, and then we'll make Knock the MVP of the episode. Grandson also says, definitely Eliza is MVP. So she got another one in the crowd as well. Jerry, or sorry, excuse me, Knock, let's send it over to you first. The panelist winner of the MVP votes. What do you want to talk about for your 60 seconds of FaceTime, big dog?
Yeah, in true knock fashion, I'm gonna show the shit out of everybody building something on the Solana ecosystem. I say this time and time again. Solana just hit $200 for the first time since January 2021 after a horrific series of events. Shit that probably should have killed the network and most definitely should have killed pretty much anybody building on it. But that ecosystem, as resilient as all fuck, I think it's a marker for what we should be as building in Web3. Move quickly, deal with adversity, continue to build. Specifically, call out all the games building in Solana. Jay from Genopads, Corey from Honeyland, Mike from the Star Atlas team, everybody at Aurora. These are teams who built their game through probably some of the toughest times on the worst ecosystem over the course of the last 3 years in terms of turmoil, the chain breaking, everything went wrong, and they're still here, they're still building. These are the types of people that we want to support, and I'll never stop shilling Solana because it's what made me get into Web3. So shout out Solana. I love the fact that teams are still building there. Go support teams who have been around. It's been a hell of a ride for the last 3 years there.
It sure has. Great stuff, Knock. I'm going to give 30 seconds of FaceTime to Jerry, and I'm going to give 30 to Eliza too. 3 MVP votes usually wins, and so I want to make sure that you get some attention as well. And that last Lumatera whitelist, I'm going to give it to AE Mac 02. He's been a big supporter of the show, and he's making sure he got his MVP vote in there. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. Make sure you get that Ronin wallet over to Lems ASAP. Jerry, your 30 seconds of FaceTime.
Yeah, fuck IKEA, fuck Walmart. Don't. No, I'm just kidding. Um, no. Thanks, Sam, for having us. As always, this is the best part of the work week for me. I'm really happy I get to spend 2 hours talking to people like this every Wednesday. I wasn't expecting to plug anything, so I will say, Sam, please go watch his stream when he does things for charity because a lot of times we get caught up in people making money and profits here. Sam's doing a really cool thing to give to people who need the help. So please support that. My thing at Uptick, we're working on a way to support smaller creators and mid-sized creators. So if you are a smaller creator who has had tough times getting deals, or you want to get started as a content creator, or you know somebody who does, please reach out to me because we want to start. We have a system we're ready to roll out pretty soon of being able to support you guys. So if you're in one of those camps, please DM me. Let's set up some time to talk, and we'll help you out.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for plugging the charity stream. And thank you also for supporting smaller creators. I think they're a very, very, very important part of the ecosystem, and building support networks for them is a huge part of making sure that we're a healthy ecosystem as a whole. Eliza, send it over to you. Your 30 seconds of FaceTime.
Yeah, thanks for the vote, guys. It means a lot. I had an amazing time. Sam killing it as always. I mean, genuinely can't believe you've been doing this for 78 weeks in a row. Like that is just insane. Yeah, your consistency is something else. I think the only thing I'll plug is my Discord. I'm getting back active there. So yeah, we host game nights. We get a bunch of access codes to upcoming games, whitelists, all of that. So yeah, if you want to join a cute little gaming community, do come along. But yeah, overall just has been amazing speaking to all of you. And yeah, I'm really proud of just like how far this space has come. And yeah, I still think we're early and yeah, really excited for the future. Much love, guys.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, go make sure you join Eliza in the Discord. I know they're always doing a lot of fun stuff over there. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as we close out another epic episode of Gamified, let's throw a snowball sized shout out to the colossal force of nature, Avalanche. Avalanche is not just any blockchain, it's the cataclysmic cascade of cutting edge technology, the summit of speed and scalability. This is where gaming legends are forged with titans like Konami solo leveling off the grid and MapleStory all sculpting their own chains on this unstoppable platform. And the avalanche of excitement continues with Robo Kaiden, now available on Elixir, plus a console release is coming soon. Thank you to Avalanche for being the official blockchain of Gamified. And of course, reload, regroup, and rally round as we salute Shrapnel, with strategic superstar spearheading the pulse of Web3 gaming. They are the architects of your arenas, the guardians of your gameplay, and our sponsors, the official game of Gamified. If you're looking to get involved, there's no time like the present. Shrapnel continues to add more opportunities to engage and earn and be rewarded. Jump into their Discord, learn more about their quest, the Lunatics, Metal, Mercury, and ecosystem rewards at any given moment. And of course, before we bid adieu, let's illuminate the cosmos with Starnet, the stellar ad network that's reimagining $100 billion spent annually on user acquisition. Forget the corporate constellations of Google and Facebook. Starnet lets games and apps shine bright, creating a decentralized and fair ad tech galaxy. And now brace yourselves for Starbase, the shimmering starship of the Starnet universe. It's the ultimate missions platform for gamers where you can play, complete challenges, and collect gems. Starbase doesn't just spotlight the best playable games in Web3, it embodies Starnet's grand galactic vision. Join the revolution with Starbase and Starnet, the ad network that truly is out of this world. And holy shit, I made it through the 2 hour and 15-minute space without completely losing my voice. Thank you, everybody, for being so kind to me whenever I'm down bad today. I love you guys. We'll see you back, same time, same place next week. And join us for Simplified on Mondays at the same time, every single Monday as well. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.